So hold our heads up high and beat the drum to what we love. Risk the fall, or we have felt it all come crashing down from far above. Stars are rising, countless worlds colliding, only one will take it all. Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we make the final call? We are the ones to ignite the darkened skies. The champions of the world that we defy. A soul right of the few who rise up high, and we all fight at the last light.
Welcome back, everybody. We're here at the EGL Summer Showdown. We got day one action. I'm Grapes. This is RMC. I pointed the wrong way because of the mirrors. It's all right. RMC, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing good. Don't worry about it, Grapes. Minions are everywhere. I'll be all over the Rift at 105 shortly here. Every single lane ready to go. And, Grapes, I feel like we've got a lot of fate with these two teams. I feel like every time I meet you, we're casting AOE and we're casting Supernova.
This is the third time in 3 Tier 2 tournaments that Supernova and AOE Randoms are in a group together, and we're about to see the third matchup right here, right now. Supernova have struggled a little bit against this team. They're 0-2, and the Randoms are going to try to make it that clean sweep tonight. And RMC, there's a lot of implications for both of these teams in this matchup, not just in terms of making it into the playoffs, because it seems like both of these teams are poised for the Tier 1, but just in terms of making a statement in how these teams want to perform.
Yeah, for sure. And let's start with AOE Randoms, because we haven't seen them in a while. The last time we saw this team was back in the Risen quarterfinals. They made it there, unfortunately ended up dropping to, I believe it was Maryville. And since then, we've not heard hide nor hair of them. Patches have come and gone, and we don't know what they look like now. Add on top of that, they have a coaching addition, Fizzy, dropping off the AOE main roster, title roster, and joining Incon as a coach here for AOE Randoms. It's all very intriguing and mysterious here, how they're going to perform. And then you think back to how they have performed in Cup and Risen. They're the very definition of inconsistency. I mean, they're called randoms for a reason. They definitely live up to that name here. And so coming into this one, I'm curious to see whether or not they can level up, be that top 4, top 6 team that they were meant to be originally after Cup.
Yeah, if we take a look at the rosters for the AOE Randoms right now, we'll see just kind of this roster and how they've matched up so far. We got Chim in the top lane, Josie in the jungle, Leo in the mid lane with that famed bot lane of Short Hop and Pockets. And RMC, this team, as you said, kind of is on that border between being that perennial top 4 team like we saw in Cup, or being towards that middle of the pack quarterfinal exit team. We saw that matchup against Maryville definitely wasn't pretty. In a pretty disastrous 3-0. And so there's a lot of ways for randoms to maybe look to continue improving. And there's also a lot that they can build on and strengths that they have. And so it'll be interesting to see how they decide to form this week. They have some new coaching, as you mentioned before, going into this last Tier 2 tournament.
Yeah. And on the other side, it's Supernova. We talked about the fact that this is the third time every single Tier 2 tournament, these two teams are in the same group. And Supernova have been struggling. If you think back to the spring split, Supernova was a contender to try and actually make it deep into the run. And they haven't really gotten weaker. Yes, Lynx has come in for Array here, but Lynx has just slotted right in, has been doing a great job carrying, a lot of the team fights, and that isn't the issue. The issue just feels like Supernova have been struggling to get that last little bit over the line. AOE Randoms literally gate kept them in the first tournament. AOE title roster gate kept them in Risen as well, and so for Supernova, they really want to win this because it's just been loss after loss after loss. And looking at their EGL OQs, they've made a lot of changes. We've been looking at them as a team, who have been playing for that 30, 40-minute mark, put Strumpus on the rise, skill up. Everybody else just tries to survive to that point. Lynx on something like an Ezreal or Felios, things that skill up really well. The OQs were not like that whatsoever. Strumpus was on instead Enchantress supports. We saw the Lulu come through. Maddie was just wreaking havoc in the jungle. And yes, he's done that before, but in the OQs, he was pretty much carrying the team through the early game, mid game, and closing them out. It wasn't just get Strumpus to a point where he can carry, get Lynx to a point he can carry. Maddie will do from start to finish everything. And we criticized Maddie the last time we saw him in Risen for not playing things meta, like the Rumble, Diana, Xin Zhao. They weren't touched at all. This time in the OQs, he was playing Xin Zhao, he was playing Diana, he was playing Gwen. So I'm seeing a lot of improvement in terms of that facet of things. They've also tried a 6-man roster. I don't know if we'll see that today, but Rovex got some play time as well. And it wasn't like Papa Chow's not available. We've got Rovex as a sub. It was a very mindful use of Rovex into the bot lane as well.
Yeah, Rovex coming in as that quote-unquote sixth 5-way positional substitute. And it's been really interesting to see how Supernova have utilized him in general. They've put him in place of Papa Chow down in the bottom lane, but instead of using a traditional support, they do a thing where they put Lynx on Senna, grabbing that earlier on in the draft, and then giving Rovex one of the feasting champions on a carry that he's more familiar on in the mid lane, whether it be the set, even a Yasuo that we saw earlier in the quarterfinals, and so in the open qualifiers. So it's been really interesting to see, and it's opened up a lot of different flexibilities for Supernova. And I appreciate that they're really trying to make some sort of difference here as they head into the last tier 2 tournament, go into that tier 1 Proving Grounds qualifier, because they know that there haven't been up to stuff so far. They've missed playoffs in both of the tier 2s, and a win against AOE Randoms here would really prove that they are worthy of getting into the playoffs here. So we do have the draft ready for game 1. AOE Randoms will be on the blue side, Supernova will be on the red side, and also it's important to note that Rovex, while we did talk about him a little bit earlier on the draft, it is Papa Chow starting in the support slot for game 1.
Yeah, so sadly, we won't be able to see, or less likely to see, that Senna pick up with something aggressive like the Yasuo, like the Gwen we've seen before. Bans already starting to come through, and you can see these are a bit of targeted bans. Akali, Irelia did just get a bit of a rework. We are on live patch 11.14 here. So Irelia's damage spike, her damage curve is a little bit different. She's not quite as strong, not quite as dive able in the early game here. And we see from Supernova, the bans coming out. The Chase, of course, for Leo is a staple ban. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Nocturne potentially come out as well, targeted at Leo. And the Wukong for Chim. Chim has been playing a ton of that Wukong right now. Before, we looked at Chim as somebody who often did play a lot of weak side, but with the Wukong sort of shift here, Chim's been playing strong side and been finding great engages, great flanks to kick off big team fights.
A lot of top side focus in the first phase of the bans, which is not surprising at all when you consider the nature of how the drafts have been working in the team compositions. The Lee Sin ban is interesting, especially considering some of the nerfs that it's gotten in some of the recent patches, but that will be the final ban here in the first phase. And Xin Zhao going to be still a pretty strong pickup here for Randoms. Josie will be on that in the jungle. Did get a nerf, the 2-second cooldown increase on the wind becomes lightning, but don't think it's that big of a deal.
Yeah, I think the bigger deal for the Xin Zhao nerf is more the range on it. And even that doesn't really hit the core nature of Xin Zhao. That just kind of takes away a little bit of his the overpowered strength he had. That leaves a ton of power picks up. Things like the Viego, like the Nocturne we spoke about here. And for Supernova, the first pick Thresh is a little interesting to me because it also does signal that they're looking to maybe play through the bot lane, through Link a little bit more. We're just talking about the fact that they were playing very heavily through Maddie instead. And it's not so much that Lynx hasn't been performing. Lynx just hasn't been given the chance to carry when Maddie is popping off early.
Yeah, and it seems sort of that the narrative for Supernova, and especially towards that bottom side, has been they've come to realize more and more as the tournament has gone on that they want to play around Lynx. Originally, it was Papa Chow on a lot of these roaming engaged supports, things like the Nautilus and the Leona, going all across the map to try to make plays. in Risen, we saw a lot more of the Enchanter play out of Papa Chow on things like the Yumi and the Karma. And now a little bit of a different sort of approach, going with this Thresh, which is traditionally paired with that hyper carry marksman. And it'll be interesting to see how they tend to focus towards that bot lane. The Viego pickup also interesting, will be that flex pick, but AOE Randoms will respond with a Syndra pick for Leo, and it's going to be another Tristana going over to short hop.
Okay, so that is not a Syndra. We have confirmation that was a mistake. It was meant to be the Lulu that we saw hovered in third.
Okay.
So it's the Lulu Tristana. That makes a lot more sense. I was right with you, Grapes. I was like, okay.
Wait.
Syndra's a counter pick. In the current meta, she's not exactly something you blind pick. She does lack a little bit of that staying power. The damage not ideal here. So Lulu, huge pickup. And if anything, this actually feels like a draft I might have expected Supernova to do, right? With the Xin Zhao, with the Lulu that is so strong in the current meta. Supernova, they did not pick their mid lane, or potentially their mid lane or their jungler necessarily. Viego technically can flex into both. They've gone instead with that Thresh Aphelios that we're looking at, we're thinking about. You talk about hyper carries, Aphelios definitely up there. Did get a bit of a buff as well here, I believe, last patch with the lethality and a bit of damage. And you pair that with the Viego as well. A lot of late game hyper scaling here for the side of Supernova. I need to see some early game here to tide them into it. I praise their OQs for the fact that they've transitioned towards the early game. Please do not go back to Risen where you're looking at that 30-minute mark to really start coming online.
Well, if you wanted some early game RMC, I think you're going to be happy to see that Rise takeaway here on the side of AOE Randoms. No late game scaling in the mid lane for Strumpus there. On the other side, Supernova are targeting Pacus down there in the bottom lane. That Nautilus and Leona, Pacus was such a major factor in AOE Randoms 2-0 over Supernova in the Risen Champions League, going for some insane engages, finding angles that I didn't even see coming. And it's just been really insane watching Pacus play, finding these engages. And so taking away some of those tanking engage supports that he's comfortable on definitely is going to be valuable. And RMC, you were talking about early game, this Olaf hover and the Olaf lock, definitely going to be that.
Now, usually when we see the Olaf, ideally you want some sort of supportive mid to really buff them up. Lulu being sort of the main one, Seraphine being the previous mid we like to see buffing up that Olaf. Seraphine is still on the table, so was Karma. Karma did get a small nerf, which does affect her ability to last hit in lane and trade. 380 doesn't sound like a lot, but it actually hurts your minion CSing. But it's still very, very viable. And again, Strumpus has shown in the OQs that you don't necessarily have to play through that. Ziggs being picked up. And the interesting thing for AOE Randoms is that you're just as likely to see Ziggs bot, Tristana mid, as you are the other way around. Both Leo and Short Hop here, they can play either of these champions.
Oh, I'm not going to say anything just yet. Hovers.
No.
We don't talk about hovers, but
yeah,
we're gonna wait. We're just gonna wait. RMC. Oh, and that's why you don't trust the hovers. The Blitzcrank coming in, which means Lulu will be sent up into the top lane. Our producer Ibram knows a lot about playing Blitzcrank into Thresh, as he did in the open qualifiers of the EGL Summer Showdown. But this is a really exciting combo. The Tristana Ziggs. It's a really great flex combo. You could play either of those champions in the mid or the bot lane, and the turret pushing is just absolutely crazy. So I'm really excited to see this. They also have the Lulu up there for Chim to kind of buff them up. And RMC, you were talking about enchanters in the mid lane to match up with the Olaf. That Seraphine going over to Stomp is going to be huge.
Yeah, so let's touch on the AOE Randoms composition we've got so far. So again, it's since our Lulu, Tristana, Ziggs, Blitzcrank here. We mentioned the Blitzcrank also because Ibram and I were actually having a discussion, Ibram, our producer, right before this about Blitzcrank into Thresh and the way Thresh gets countered by hook champions in general. I personally am not a huge fan of Blitzcrank. I think Nautilus is a much better hook champion into Thresh, even Pyke if you want to get some kills. Blitzcrank is highly conditional and he's very, very mana intensive. If you're pairing that with the Ziggs as well, that bot lane feels like it's kind of at cross purposes. So I'm expecting to see more likely the Ziggs in the mid lane, just on a bot lane for a kill lane into the Aphelios Thresh lane here. And you have to keep in mind that whatever you pair with that Blitzcrank here, you need the burst damage. If you can't burst out the target that you hook immediately, that rocket grab can sometimes become a bit of a free initiate. If it's landing on the Olaf, if it's landing on the Thresh later in the game, it's not going to be quite as impactful. That said, a lot of squishy targets, Aphelios, Viego, Seraphine, all great targets to get hooked. So it really does come down to how Pacus can navigate this. And we talked about the fact that Pacus is very good at finding flanks, finding good fights. The question now is, can he find these good hooks? The rest of the team composition, they're more than happy to sort of play front to back. You've got really strong jungle pressure in the earlier game, Xin Zhao being the premier jungler right now. So I think AOE Randoms, just a very good orthodox front-to-back all-rounder composition they've drafted here.
Point that you just made, RMC, about having that burst requirement for the Blitzcrank. I would have liked to see the Tristana there just because of the amount of burst potential that she has with the rocket jump, the explosive shots, even getting that Halo Blades autos in to further get those resets. But instead, we're going to see Leo on the Tristana. This is the more quote-unquote traditional way that we see the Tristana and Ziggs kind of arranged, especially when we consider what teams like Immortals have played in the LCS. So this is like the quote-unquote better way to do it, but I would have liked to see some more burst alongside that Blitzcrank.
Agreed. I mean, Blitzcrank can always roam up, right? Blitzcrank is a very strong roamer as well. You go into the mid lane, suddenly Seraphine finds herself with a single hook, and Tristana can burst her down as well. So we'll have to see if they do opt to do that. Supernova, on the other hand, we talked about the individual components here, the scaling from Viego and Aphelios, and the fact that you're probably trying to play through that Olaf Seraphine early on here. And with that Olaf as well, I want to see you camp that top lane into that Lulu. Lulu's polymorph is very obnoxious, and she's a bit of a lane bully. But if you can... You don't have to necessarily win the top lane for the Viego. You just have to make sure that Cozy gets a chance to farm here. If you are able to do that, Cozy will be able to handle the Lulu 1v1 later on. And the other thing that Maddie has to be very, very careful of is Olaf into Xin Zhao is kind of a matchup that could go either way. They both have sustain, they're both good duelists, but Maddie might want to try and avoid it just because you don't necessarily win the 2v2s. Tristana is going to be able to out-damage the Seraphine. Yes, you've got shields. Yes, you've got healing, but if there's an ignite at all coming through, then that's not going to be great. Top side as well, Viego is not going to be as beneficial early on as that Lulu is for that Xin Zhao for the duel. And the bot lane gets super dicey here because trying to gank a Ziggs is a little difficult. Trying to get through that minefield with that package as well to knock people off. Once you're 6, feel free, go nuts, kill everyone. But pre-6, Maddie's going to have to be a little bit careful. And I want to see him play a little bit conservatively. Don't give away any free kills. Just look for free pressure. You don't have to get the kills. Just get your lane pressure down.
Yeah, and that's something that Maddie is really good at, knowing how to path around in the early game, how to find the correct angles to get himself and the rest of his teammates ahead, and having Strumpus by his side, especially towards some of the later stages, once he does hit that level 6, having that Seraphine up to buff him up with the shields to even push that Encore through him will just be incredibly valuable in these team fights. And the team fight potential for Supernova definitely is really strong. They have a lot of high damage and a lot of reset potential on things like the Viego and the Aphelios as well. On the other side, though, AOE Randoms might want to play a little bit of a different way, just given that they have this Tristana Ziggs combo. They probably want to try and get a lot of early lane priority, get the pushes in, get with those explosive shots and with those satchel charges, and just make sure that the early towers go down and they get an advantage that way.
Yeah, and AOE Randoms, they're going to be one setting the pace here in the game because, as you mentioned, Tristana and Ziggs, they're both great at taking turrets with their respective bombs here. When you pair them together, one wave is enough, usually after their first items, to just absolutely take down a turret here. They'll probably be the ones rotating first. And with that Blitzcrank as well, you can definitely punish on those rotations. Vision is going to be key for both of these teams. And for AOE Randoms, traditionally, when they've played against Supernova, they've always found themselves an early lead. They're probably going to look to continue that because if it does come to later mid to late game team fights, front to back fights, I don't fancy their odds. Yes, Ziggs can drop bombs from up high. You can't really stop the bombs from coming through, and the poke is really, really nasty. But at the same time, when that Olaf starts running through, you don't have a lot of tools to stop him. I'm worried the damage might not be sufficient to take him down. And if you're distracted by that Olaf, that Viego, that Aphelios, they're going to rip right through you.
Yeah, and that's going to be the big question. Will the split pushing of Randoms take them to victory, or will the team fighting of Supernova secure them this Game 1 dub? It's going to be a really important series for both of these teams. Game 1 action is going to be coming your way in just a couple minutes. We'll be back after a short break with action in Game 1. Welcome everybody to Summoner's Rift. We are here with Game 1 action in the EGL Summer Showdown, the first day of the last Tier 2 tournament. AOE Randoms are on your blue side, Supernova are on your red side, RMC. I'm super excited for this matchup. Doesn't look like anything too weird is going to happen here in the early game, but I think a lot's going to change after that.
You say nothing too weird, but I'd argue, Grapes, having a Blitzcrank and not invading is kind of weird. We're used to usually seeing a Blitzcrank.
Is nothing weird happening.
Yeah, exactly. That is unusual. But then again, we have to remember, it's not just the first game of the EGL Summer Showdown here, the official thing, not the open qualifiers. There is a lot of story between these two teams. So while it technically is a game one of his best of three, the teams are probably also going to play a little bit more carefully, a little bit more to their win cons. We already set up the stakes here. Supernova want their first series wins against AOE Randoms, and AOE Randoms, they need to prove themselves after their Risen performance.
Absolutely. Triple teleports on the side of AOE Randoms, and it looks like double on the side of Supernova. Interesting thing that we were talking about a little bit before we got into game. Phase rush on Supernova, Strompist here on that Seraphine, and press the attack on Leo's Tristana. So a couple of interesting things to point out. Not the most traditional things that we would see out of these two champions, but either way, doesn't look like anything too unusual is going to happen. We got red side starts for both of the junglers as the path to the opposite sides.
Yeah, and the red side starts are also kind of interesting because Supernova did not leash for Maddie at all. Maddie is just doing his own thing there. Cozy was opting to actually try and hide in a bush and maybe make something happen on Chim, whereas we did see Short Hop and Pockets there heavily assist their jungler, lose control of the bot side a little bit. And they're okay to do that because you have a Ziggs, because you can shove out really, really quickly. And with the Blitzcrank as well, getting shoved in is not a problem. That's actually a kill threat because now you've got that turret. Both Papa Chow and Lynx have to be super, super careful to not get pulled under that turret.
You can see early lane prio in both of the solo lanes for AoE Randoms to start this game off. When you have the Tristana in the mid lane and you have the range versus melee for Chim in the top side, not too surprising to see that just yet. And that's probably why we see Maddie paddling towards his bottom side. Lynx and Chow are the lane that has the priority and is going to be able to allow him to really expand his reign into the jungle as much as possible.
And Maddie does have to be careful because Leo dropped a very aggressive ward into the Raptor pit and actually spotted Maddie out. Olaf, if you're not getting a leash early on, tends to run a little bit dangerously low in health and mana sometimes during the clear, so you can get invaded on it. We talked about the fact that Shinsao Olaf is already kind of a close matchup. Well, if you don't have mana or you're lower in health, you will end up losing that duel, not to mention the Tristana being able to rotate quicker than the Seraphine. Yeah,
and we'll see what that ends up meaning. It looks like since they passed to the opposite sides, not going to see any of that early game dueling between the junglers. It's going to be a trade of the Scuttle Crabs, a trade of the full clears. And right now we do see Leo headed up towards this top side. Having a lot of that prio means that they're allowed to really make a lot of these movements. And with the wave crashing in, I think they might be looking for a dive.
There's not enough minions. CP immediately coming out from Strompus there. Good response to not give up the pressure. And because Leo walked up here, you're not losing too much wave pressure mid. Papa Chow actually roaming up. So Maddie and Papa Chow taking that wave, shoving it in.
Yeah, you have a Seraphine, so it doesn't matter if he all gets that too much gold. Just got to make sure you get the XP, make sure your team doesn't die for some of that late game supportive healing and shielding. And so I like this. You kind of funnel some more gold into Maddie anyway. Going to back and pick up that pickaxe already. So a lot of gold into the hands of this Olaf. And right off the bat, Supernova are playing the early game well. We saw sometimes the early game got a little bit away from them in some of the games, and they had to come back, claw their way back into the late game. But so far, things are going pretty even.
And I want to go back to the fact that you said funnel here, Grapes, because that is literally what you're trying to do with this mid lane, right? You've got an Enchanter mid lane. You don't care necessarily about Strumpus getting all the gold here. It's more about the experience. And it's all about Maddie in the early game. We talked about the fact that it's Olaf. Olaf, not only is he strong early game, but he does fall off very, very hard as well. So they do want to get him online with that Ragnarok ASAP. We did see the roam up from Pockets. We talked about the potential here, but it's not just the mid lane. Pockets is going all the way up for this Viego as well, and I'm not sure that's the right call. Lulu doesn't have a ton of kill threat.
Cozy really wants to get this wave shoved in, so got to be a little bit careful because if a little bit over an overextension could mean his downfall. Maddie's going to make sure that his top laner gets out safely, and it looks like that roam all the way from bot to top for Pockets didn't end up with too much to its name. Honestly, to counter that, Papa Chow did end up going towards that top side as well, which means Lynx and Short Hop are just dueling it out on the bottom side. So it doesn't look like too much bot lane prio was lost here, but wow, look at this top lane trading. Chim is doing so much into Cozy.
Yeah, that's Lulu for you there. I think people tend to forget that Enchanter supports don't always have to lose the lane. In fact, Karma gets picked to sort of neutralize lanes a lot. Lulu will flat out win them. There was a time where on-hit Lulu was a thing in the top lane here. I'm not saying we're going to see that. We are definitely not going to see that. But she does have a lot of damage in her kit. She's got a lot of ways to neutralize these sort of more carry-oriented top laners as well.
Yeah, and also has the Oblivion Orb. We know that Viego's lane sustain did get nerfed in a couple of patches ago with that passive. And so just adding on top of that, sort of dominoing the effect together with that extra Grievous Wounds for Chim will mean he'll have so much lane priority. And you're seeing it already now. He's doubling Cozy CS.
And AoE Randoms, they're looking to capitalize on that. You can see Josie, you can see Leo constantly rotating up there, trying to look for it, but they can't find it. And for Cozy here, yes, you're down in CS, yes, you're losing experience, but again, you're not the main carry of the early game. Maddie is getting just free farm, getting dragon pressure as well here. So they're able to answer back a little bit. And the question then becomes, what can you do with these advantages you accrued for your Olaf here? Is it going to be able to make up for the fact that Cozy does not get to play the game?
Well, yeah, right now, Maddie has ult, Josie does not, has the dragon, AoE Randoms does not, so a lot of early game prio is headed towards this top side for AoE Randoms, but they haven't been able to get a lot out of it, as you said. We've seen Leo, we've seen Josie making their way towards the top lane. Heck, we even saw Pockets make his way up there, but at the end of the day, if Cozy's not dead, you're not really getting a whole lot out of it.
And if you look at the vision as well, you can see that AoE Randoms are really isolating the top lane. I love the fact that they've got a vision ward in the middle of the top lane. So literally, you can't even force a lane gank right now. And for Supernova, they probably saw the vision come down. I'd like to say that they saw it here. So they should know that trying to gank Cozy is going to be very, very, very difficult for the most part here. If you don't have a teleport ready, it's probably not going to succeed. And I want to see Maddie look in some of the other lanes. Mid's a little tough against the Tristana, but we talked about it from the very start, Grapes. Bot lane is a place both junglers can look at.
Yeah, and it looks like Maddie is going to have to come up here. Can't go down to the bot lane just yet, because Cozy does kind of have to get bailed out here with the wave in this position. And this is something that we've seen a lot from Cozy just throughout the summer split here in Proving Grounds, coming from 100 Thieves next and taking more of a weak side approach here on Supernova, playing things like the Viego, like the Lee Sin, not necessarily to win the lanes, but just to get enough gold, get enough experience to eventually become impactful in the team fights. He's been able to do a good job of that for the most part, and that's basically what he's doing here.
Yeah. And now, we talked a lot about Maddie here, but I want to look at Josie, because Josie's on Xin Zhao, and Xin Zhao too is an early game jungler. You do need to find a couple of ganks here or there, or you will fall behind in farming. Josie so far has begun to fall behind in farm and has not been able to find anything in the jungle. We've seen pockets roam together quite a bit, but it hasn't panned out here. And I'm just think force the mid lane. A lot more Shompus has kind of been left to just farm. The flash not even burnt whatsoever. They do manage to get Herald. That is nice, but Herald alone, until you use it right, doesn't really matter.
Well, we'll see if Supernova have anything to say about it. The stun is going to land onto Josie, and Maddie has already popped the Ghost. Heartbreaker will be flashed away from. The Encore will barely miss. Pockets will land a nice hook onto Cozy, but now it's Maddie going in. Wild Growth is not going to do enough. And first blood secured for Supernova. Maddie securing a kill and furthering his lead in the jungle.
Chim has to be careful as well. You're not safe. You knew that all four members were topside, and they're clearing the vision here. They could look for the dive. Wild Growth was already used.
It doesn't look like anything's going to happen just yet. Recalls are being channeled here. One thing that is important to note is since Lynx did go up there, it's going to be a lot of plate damage going over for Short Hop. Remember, this is a Ziggs. You can't leave a Ziggs alone in lane like this.
Thankfully, it's Ziggs who hasn't bought a lot of items. If that was a Tristan, it'd be scary in the early levels. As it stands, though, they're able to zone Lynx out here. So instead of just the 1.5 plates, they're getting a full 2.5 plates here. And still, Lynx is not safe.
Cozy's got to be a bit careful. He's going to stun back onto Chim, but he's getting low. One more auto could potentially secure the kill, but he has the Shroud. He's going to use the W to dash out a little bit. Chim does have Flash. Going to flash for the E. Going to secure that kill. A solo on the top side as Cozy gets a little bit too aggressive up there.
AOE Randoms able to find some answers here to the forceful plays that we're seeing from Supernova. And when all said and done, Graves, we are still dead even right now in terms of gold. That kill was answered right away. The first blood was answered by Plates here. And the question now becomes, what are you doing with this Eye of the Herald? Where can you find pressure? Dragon comes up in a minute here. And I think that's where we're really going to see the teams look to make these plays happen. All the outs are unlocked for all the players.
Yeah, and I'd love to see Josie use that Rift Herald down on the bottom side, not only to get some prio around that dragon, but also just to get short hop, the ability to take down that first tower with the satchel charge. We'll be able to take it down once that Herald charges in, and it looks like Supernova knows this because they're sending Maddie down here to make sure that nothing goes awry.
Yeah, Pockets was kind of spotted going back a little bit. So they know that there's a bit of pressure here. There's a bit of advantage. They want to make sure that they're ready for that dragon spawn. And they do see Josie actually top side, or at least they're pinging the missing thing. So they suspect that he's up there right now. They're looking for Leo as well.
Lots of ultimates, lots of spells used. A lantern in will not mean too much. It's just going to be the flash out for Leo. Crucial summoner spells are down here for the AoE Randoms mid laner as the dragon spawns in about 7 seconds. And it doesn't look like Randoms is going to try to contest this. Instead, they might be looking for something else. We see Josie here looking to maybe catch out an overextended Strumpus, but it's just going to be Maddie starting up that Cloud Drake.
Now it is, actually Strumpus.
Oh, when becomes lightning, that might have been the nerf that we were talking about in action right there, RMC. And not too sure. Either way, Josie's not around the dragon pit, which means it'll be basically Supernovas to take. And yeah, it just looks like instead of that, Josie is just going to pop that Rift Herald into the middle lane and get some prio and some gold elsewhere.
And I really like what AoE Randoms are doing because it's Cloud Drake, and they don't really need it for their ultimates here. Besides the Wild Growth and maybe the Mega Inferno Bomb, that 12 ability haste reduction is not that impactful for them. So I'd rather they give it up. They set up all the turrets. Mid is really low. A satchel charge would take it down. Top is getting to that point, so is bot here, and all you have to then do is rotate short hop around to literally just press W there and take those turrets.
Oh, hook barely misses there from Pockets, and that would have been probably a dead Lynx if it ended up landing. But as you said, RMC, the getting that lane prio and getting a lot of these early game turret plays has been the game plan for AoE Randoms in this game 1. This is the team composition that they drafted, and they're executing it decently well. They have about a 500 gold lead. They have sacked 2 dragons to get it, but it doesn't look like they're going to get too much just yet. We do see a bit of a play here in the bottom side. Maddie and Strompas are here to party, and Short Hop's in a very, very bad position. Going to try to use that charge out. Can he get executed? Oh no, the minions are there, which means he's not going to be able to take enough damage. So it's just going to be buying time here for Short Hop. Chow and the rest of Supernova are going to make sure that he does not live just a little bit longer. The final shot will do it, and Strompas picks it up.
Respect to Shut Up. He knew he was dead, and he wasted so much time for them there. Yeah, they were trying to decide who to give it over to. I don't know if Strumpus is necessarily the best person, but hey, Dark Seal stacks, I guess. That's what they wanted to do. Yeah. And the moment Short Hop's back up, again, you can rotate mid, top, bottom. Literally all of them are basically dead. The death, though, does prevent them from getting those last couple of plates, because ideally, at that 12:30 mark, what you wanted to do was get that, rotate, get all of them before 14 minutes. Now, by the time he spawned and actually walked to the turrets, all the plates are gone.
For Supernova, this is a victory in and of itself. Having all 3 of your outer turrets up before the turret plates fall, with the compositions that both of these teams have set up, is very good if you are Supernova. You had a lot of prio from Short Hop, from Leo, from Chim, but it didn't look like they were able to get enough to secure any singular turret. Of course, now with the resistances down, might be a little bit easier to take some of them, and it looks like Pockets is looking for a play here in the middle lane. Moonstone Manure already completed for Strumpus, which means that any sort of poke that AoE Randoms managed to deal, looks like Strumpus will be able to heal it right back.
Pretty much right now. There's no real healing cut coming through. Well, there is the Oblivion Orb that Chim picked up much earlier in lane, but you can see that Chim is not always going to be able to apply that onto all of them for the healing. Now, I'm waiting for the team fights here, because the teams will operate very, very differently.
Hook misses from Chow, but that means Pockets has a beautiful answer. 2-man encore means that Short Hop is down. Josie gonna dash in with that Crescent Guard. Gonna use the Wind Becomes Lightning to take down Lynx, but not before falling in return. Cozy's gonna flash over the wall to try to get a play onto Chim. Doesn't have the Wild Growth, doesn't have the Heartbreaker, which means both of the top laners will get out with their lives. It's a 2-for-0 for Supernova, 2-for-1, sorry, for Supernova, but turret plating is going down in the bottom side.
Okay, I was about to talk about how they were gonna fight. It did not go out anyway. Did not go at all like what I thought it was going to go. I was going to say AoE randoms, they're going to play dodgeball here. You've got hooks, you've got bombs, you've got poke. You do not want to full engage. That's it. That's exactly what they did. And they lost. Not only did they full engage into a team that actually wants to fight, but Leo was just split pushing. They were 4v5 in that particular fight. Notably, Cozy actually won the 1v1 against Chim despite being a level down. So that is not great news for the side of AoE randoms. And sure, you pick up 2 turrets in rapid succession, soon to find a third in the top side, but you now have to be aware that Chim is not going to be as impactful necessarily in rotation. You can fight the Viego if you can see the Viego, but with the amount of bushes from this Ocean Soul map, Chim's actually not in the ideal position right now to deal with Cozy 1v1 anymore.
It's the story of the Lulu top lane, but Josie might be in a bit of trouble. Nice hook coming out from Papa Chow. Means that Stroppage takes the jungler. Dragon spawning in less than a minute. Josie will be up for that, but still, a big pick there for Supernova.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for Josie. The hook beautifully played by Papa Chow there, because you know that as long as it roughly is in the area, Josie doesn't get a chance to flash out. If he has to flash dodge the hook, he's stuck in the pit. And for Supernova here, they need to continue making these picks and setting up for these objectives. You can see that they're struggling to push into the Ziggs right now. The wave clear is just too strong. Once that Ludens is picked up, and with the tier here, Short Hop isn't worried about mana. He can just spam bombs for days, and trying to shove into that's going to be ridiculously tough.
Ocean Dragon spawning in 15 seconds, and it looks like both teams do want to try and make a play for it. Pacus is a little bit probably scared of this, and the hook barely misses, but now they spotted up Chow, and now the Thresh goes down. Teleport coming in from Cozy could mean a big amount of damage. That's a nice bomb coming in, but the Encore is huge as well. Maddie goes down first to Leo, and Josie's in the middle of the enemy team with the Wild Growth on him. Cozy falls, and it looks like the randoms are on the chase. Knock up will land onto Lynx. Does have a lot of damage from the chakrams, but not enough. Chim will secure it, and random strike right back, and they'll pick up this dragon as well.
And that right there, Graves, is exactly how AoE Randoms wants to play this. The moment you pick up Blitzcrank, you're looking for those picks. And you have to remember, from the side of Supernova, if you can reach them, Blitzcrank can reach you. So I don't care that you're in vision. I don't care that you removed all the vision in that bush. If you're clumped together like that, you're just giving huge hook targets. And it literally, anybody at this point in the game will get bursted down. Your Thresh is not tanky enough. Maddie does have the Gore Drinker. Great, good. Still not enough tankiness to survive 5 members sitting on you and just tossing all their damage, not having to worry about anybody else distracting.
And all of a sudden, it's a 3,500 gold lead for AoE Randoms. It took a while, but eventually the turrets fell. Eventually the kills came through, and now they're in a pretty good spot to potentially take this game on. It's important to note, though, no towers have been taken by Supernova. That is just kind of standing gold that will eventually be taken down. But at the moment, AoE Randoms are in front, and it's up to them to continue to snowball this lead.
You say that it'll eventually go down, Graves, but I am a little bit worried at this point because AoE Randoms feels like they're holding all the cards right now because they've got a gold lead, because they've got a Blitzcrank. They need to just control vision, and as long as they can control vision here, they force Supernova into a bad spot where Supernova will never be able to wave clear or take turrets as quickly as Randoms can. And so you're always going to be chasing them, trying to force them into a fight. Whereas AoE Randoms, they can just keep kiting you around, just running around, not interacting with you. And then it's just a race to see who can reach the turrets first. And in the meantime, Supernova don't have a great pick potential. Sure, you've got a death sentence, but we've already seen that before. You're kind of meeting halfway, whereas the Blitzcrank hook, pardon me, that's just going to drag you in immediately, and the pick potential from that is so much stronger.
Some interesting stuff going on here in the mid lane, as you mentioned. The hooks saw a lot of potential here. Pocket's going to pop in here with the overdrive. His presence is really well known, but it looks like Chow is going to try to stop it. Uses the box, hooks him right in, which he'll have way more time to secure the kill. Maddie will pick it up. Flash Encore will land onto Leo, but a nice rocket jump buffer will make sure he doesn't get crowd controlled into the team. It's a nice pick for Supernova, but not much else.
It's creative, I'll give them that. And I like the creativity. The problem is, can they push into this turret now? Look at the wave clear that could come out here. It's so risky for them.
Yeah, it's a 4v5, but still, it's just a support. Pocket doesn't provide much outside of that rocket trap. Josie's actually going to end up dashing in. Does have the Lulu ultimate if it ends up going through. A massive knockup will mean that Maddie goes down. And now Cozy's going to have to use the Heartbreaker out. Double kill going over to Leo, and he has the resets. Going to jump forward. can get another auto in onto Strampus. Won't be able to find much else. But after all of that, Supernova has the numbers advantage, but still lose the fight 2-0.
Josie knows no fear. That was a solo engage into 4 members there. They did not have vision on Cozy as well. And after finding the fight, they're turning straight onto Baron here. Only Strumpus, Lynx, and Papa Chow here, but they don't have vision of this. They suspect there's no Encore. There's no group AoE CC available.
Oh no, the Lantern misses. I don't even know. The pink ward will finally secure their suspicions that they are on the Baron, but they don't have much to really contest this. No Miracle Steel available for Supernova. The Mega Inferno Death Bomb will be the one to secure the objective. And AoE Randoms now at 5,000 gold and are wearing purple.
43 health, Grapes. That was how low the Baron got before they secured it. That was way too close. You still do want to secure it with the Smite. Mega Inferno Bomb is cute, but that should not be what's securing your Baron for you. The travel time on that sped up is still way too slow, but Baron in their pocket, and this is a team we already said is going to be so good at taking turrets here. You give them the ability to split push. Now it's not just the Ziggs and Tristana. Your Lulu can split push. Your Xin Zhao can split push. Blitz could split push with the minion wave here, and you just need to rotate those two demolition experts to finish things off quickly. Things are kind of going from bad to worse here, and Supernova, they need to start finding picks of their own here.
Yeah, and it's going to be hard to do that. As you said, RMC, the pick potential for Supernova is there, but it's not as good as Randoms. And the collapse that Randoms has, if one of their teammates does get picked up, definitely is prevalent. You have a lot of ability to fight from a pretty long range and also to go in from a long range. And so right now it's AoE Randoms not splitting, but instead grouping as 5 and using both of their tower takers in conjunction.
And on this particular push, I want to highlight the fact that Strumpus was split pushing and had no mana. Yes, you have teleport. Yes, you have flank position. But if you don't have Encore, you can't win that team fight. They're looking now, but the turret's taking so much damage. It's going to go down before they find a good engage angle.
Yeah, hook goes wide, but not going to matter. The inhibitor tower is under fire. Leo has to use the rocket jump out, but Chim might be out of position. A beautiful shutdown coming over to Strampus, but now Supernova has to be a bit careful. The health bars are taking dangerously low on their top side members. Josie with the ultimate will make sure he stays alive, and just a couple more autos are going to be needed to secure the turret for short hub.
I'm glad that Supernova managed to find that pick there, but that was a desperate force. They were about to lose the turret. They hold it off. It gets taken down anyways. They take down Lulu on the back end or the front end of that particular fight. But what did they have to burn to get it? Everything, Grapes. That was everything. And you're a composition that wants to team fight. If you have to blow everything just to find one kill, you don't get the ability to team fight. You lose yet another dragon. And AoE Randoms, even if it does go late right now, they're looking to potentially get a 4-stacked Ocean Soul, at which point they're just not going to be able to kill them in any sort of extended fight.
You talk about it, fellas. You talk about Seraphine Viego as like the big late game carries that Supernova have if the game goes in the long run. But you still have Ziggs and Tristana with the Lulu on his side. Strampus is going to get hooked. Can't go to late game if you die right here. Leo picks it up. That's a shutdown also going over to the Tristana. So now sitting at 4-0-2. Leo is in a brilliant spot as they're going to continue to push.
The siege is just too good here. And the hook again.
Papa Chow's out of position, but it doesn't look like the rest of Randoms are here to really reinforce this. Look at the damage. Green and white gun coming out from Lynx will mean basically one-shots from long range. Short hop is really low, but it's going to continue to go down here. Baron buff has expired, but the turrets are still under fire.
It's rare that we'll talk about Calibrum as being a good gun for Aphelios. But right now, against the siege composition, it's about the only thing that's allowing them to safely clear. Any other gun, and Lynx is exposing himself to poke, to blind hooks, that the side lane turrets are no longer safe for you to try and defend. All that Ziggs needs to do is sort of threaten the outside of the turret, and then you can have pockets threaten the inside of the turret with a hook here. And suddenly the space you have to play is insufficient. Supernova are on the weaker side of things. They're on the more passive side, but they need to be more aggressive. You cannot play defensively into this composition that has better siege, better sustain, and just better turret taking abilities.
To be fair, Supernova did do a decent job at defending that Baron power play. The gold lead stands at around 5,500, which is similar to the amount of gold that they were up as the Baron was being taken down. And they went about 1-for-1 in terms of kills in that time frame. The only question is, what can Supernova do now that the Baron is not on AoE Randoms. It's going to be spawning again in less than 2 minutes, and so some plays are going to have to be made before that next objective.
Now, Grips, we've seen Supernova try a couple of things. We've seen the Cozy flank. That didn't work. Cozy got burst out. We've seen Maddie try and flank, and he's struggling to sort of get into a good position here. The Olaf is getting bursted down. I feel like at this point, you're looking at a flash encore from Shompus onto Squishy members, like an entire team flank almost here, in order to make things happen. Either that, or you're looking for randoms to overextend. Leo's pushing right now, so if they can find a pick right here, if you can burst somebody down 100-0, this is your opportunity.
Well, if they're going to make a play, they're going to have to go fast. So another turret taken in the bottom lane by Leo, and he's working towards that second inhibitor tower in the bottom lane. And now Supernova has to be on the run. The only question is, can Random stop him? Hooks him to land on the Pox, and the Blitzcrank has potentially been caught out. The Rocket Crab will not do enough. There's beautiful encore as well. Cozy will secure the kill, get the resets, and now Maddie is a bit out of position, but here comes Leo. He's on the flank. Heartbreaker in on the Chim. Will not find the kill just yet. The stopwatch will buy some time, but not enough. And now Josie is going in onto the back line. Going to get rooted up by Strompas, but has a stopwatch of his own. And look at the damage coming out of the Tristana. A double kill for Shortstop. Lynx is doing his best, but I don't think it's enough. He goes down, and Papa Chow, the one who started it all and gets that fight, will go down last. An ace for AoE Randoms. They're going to push down mid.
Supernova tried. We talked about the fact Leo's pushing. You force the fight right here, right now. They did it. They did the hardest they could there, but the peel is just too strong. And we spoke about, healing cut needed to deal with the Lulu. Well, Supernova needed healing cut as well to deal with Josie's drain tank.
Maddie is just about to spawn, but look at the way that Supernova are getting their base destroyed. The Nexus is under fire. You got Tristana and the Ziggs, man. You can't defend the base. The Nexus goes down, and Randoms take game 1 in 27 minutes.
Grapes, we talked about the draft, right? Supernova, they had a certain win con they needed to play through. Their early game was fairly one-dimensional here. It had to be Maddie Strompas popping off. And it's not that they didn't try. AoE Randoms just played that very, very well. Yes, Josie didn't get off to a leaping start. Yes, their lanes weren't exactly popping, but they didn't have to. They just had to stall out to the mid game, make sure that Olaf didn't take off. They played that perfectly, and then they were able to start taking all the turrets. And it's not a high kill game. 14 kills for AoE Randoms, 8 for Supernova in a 26 and 50 minutes game. That's not high for the Randoms. We're used to very high kill counts, but it's very clean from Randoms.
Yeah, they played the composition the way that they wanted to. They had some early advantages, not too much though, and then they managed to secure a massive gold lead for themselves in that mid game, using that Tristana, using that Ziggs, and the Lulu even getting Prio there in that top side allowed them to take those 3 early game turrets and allowed them to get that gold, win those fights, eventually get the Baron, and once you have the Baron, the pushing just multiplies.
Yeah, and it's just the current meta, right? Ziggs is so high priority for a lot of these teams. He does great poke damage. He does great burst damage. He's good at taking turrets. He's safe in lane. What doesn't Ziggs do? So going to the next game, I don't know if the teams are switching side. We don't know that for sure yet. But if they are not, I think Supernova needs to look into maybe either picking the Ziggs themselves fairly early on, or they just need to ban it out. Because without that Ziggs, this composition is not going to be able to do quite the same thing it managed to pull off this game.
Yeah, back to the drawing board has to be the name of the game here for Supernova. The draft was something that I think that could have gone better for Supernova, but I don't know if it was necessarily the worst. They had a lot of win conditions. The only problem was just Randoms kind of outplayed them in that early to mid game. So we'll see what happens in game 2. Not entirely sure, once again, about sides or even in terms of what players on Supernova would be going on. I don't know, man. Kind of want to see Rovex come in here. It would just be fun for the glory day. They're down. They don't want to be in the same position that they were for the last Tier 2 tournaments. Want to come out and make a statement win here against AoE Randoms. We'll see what happens, though. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back for Champion Select for Game 2. Welcome back, everybody. We're here for Game 2 in the EGL Summer Showdown between Supernova and AOE Randoms RMC. That was a quick game, even though it was a bit close towards the beginning. But now Supernova down 1-0. Gonna have to try and make some changes to even it out. Chow will be staying in that bottom lane alongside Lynx, but Supernova will be moving over to blue side.
Yeah, and Graves, going into draft here, we were discussing quite a bit about what the teams can do. Supernova being on the blue side means to get first pick, that opens things up. And we're talking about the priority of, Ziggs potentially needing to be banned or picked. But I think Lulu is actually the one that I really want to look at it for first pick here. We saw what happens if you pick a Viego into Lulu. If that's the lane you end up going into, you definitely do get bullied out quite a bit. So I think for Supernova, we've seen Strumpus play the Lulu in the open qualifiers.
Yeah.
It would enable the Olaf as much, if not more, than the Seraphine. And it's also a really solid counter to Viego. So I think Lulu Prio is going to be very, very high here. AOE Randoms on the red side, despite their win, might opt to change up their bans to address that possibility here.
Yeah, when you think about that Lulu pickup and you think of Strumpus as a player, those two don't really match up super well. Normally, when you think of Lulu going over to Supernova, you think of Papa Chow picking it up, maybe buffing up Lynx down in the bottom lane. But Strumpus has been a player who's super flexible, and while he has been a main carry for Supernova for the majority of the 2021 season, is also definitely capable of playing these more supportive champions like the Lulu, as you said, in the open qualifiers. So having that as a first pick option, having that flexibility as well, kind of similarly to the way that the Viego was used as a flex pick for Supernova in game 1, would not be super upset with seeing that for sure.
Yeah, and it kind of shifts the carry job over. In game 1, we did see Lynx again on the Aphelios. It didn't look bad per se. It just felt like it was behind. We saw like in some of those fights, he almost managed to turn the tides, was very good at using all the various guns coming through from Aphelios. They're cycling through all of them, not just, the red-white combo that we're used to seeing here. We saw Severum being used, healing up. We saw Calibrum used to wave clear against the Ziggs as well. Just a lot of utility. So I don't hate the Aphelios pick. I think it could be picked up again. Lynx is a very versatile player, playing the Senna, playing the Sivir as well. And Ezreal. To me, whenever I see Lynx, I'm still thinking of the Ezreal Yumi Hecarim combo that we saw coming through in the Risen. Yeah. That was absolutely disgusting. It's still there. Yes, Divine Thunder got nerfed, but I think it's still very, very viable. And while the nerf might have hurt the Ezreal a little bit, Lynx just still looks so clean on that champion.
I feel like it looks clean on a lot of champions, RMC. The Ezreal specifically, as you said, definitely is pretty strong, but Lynx definitely has to probably be that main carry for Supernova. I remember on a lot of the fights that we saw in game 1, I was like, oh my gosh, it was so close. Maybe a lot of the players were at like 200 HP and Lynx nearly just like one-shot all of them, but it just was barely not enough. And a lot of that had to do with the early game that AOE Randoms put up. They had a lot of really strong lanes that they pushed in on, especially towards the top and mid lane, and they were able to get a lot of plates, able to get a lot of gold, which eventually snowballed them to a game 1 victory. Yeah,
and speaking of that advantage they accrued themselves early, we mentioned the fact that Josie wasn't super aggressive and just kind of didn't make mistakes, didn't give up too many opportunities. All the lanes did the same here. So for AOE Randoms, though they did win game 1, I would like to see Josie brought into the game a little bit more. When we saw AOE Randoms in Cup, in Risen, a lot of it was off Josie's early gameplay, and the meta might have shifted a little bit away from the Rumble and Diana, which he's so heavily favored. But if you're going to be picking things like Xin Zhao, you still do need to, make those sort of early games happen. Bans actually coming through real quick, real fast here. Most notably, though, Ziggs not banned. Gwen made it through. Viego is still through. Lulu's still through. A whole bunch of power picks, Grapes.
Yeah, it looks like Randoms are just super keen on banning away that Akali or Aurelia, the two champions that Cozy is so comfortable on. And we see him struggle on some of these other picks. The Viego, he did play a decent weak side, but wasn't able to get the resets that we were so hoped to see in a champion like that. The Gwen lock-in I do like for Supernova. Is very flexible. Maddie's capable of playing it in the jungle as well, and it opens up a lot of possibilities in the draft. However, Tristana and Viego were two power picks that were still on the table, and AOE Randoms are definitely going to snatch those up.
Yeah, last game Ziggs got picked second rotation, but AOE Randoms were on the blue side here. Now that they're on the red side, they can pick Ziggs on this rotation if they want here, knowing that they can then pinch the potential mid lane pool. Ziggs into Gwen as a matchup, not necessarily ideal, but we don't know where this Gwen's going to go yet. I'm a firm believer that if you can play Viego, you can probably play Gwen as well. So maybe it goes top. Lucian being picked up here. And I remember that, generally speaking, Strumpus, the two bans people leveling at Strumpus throughout all Risen, Ryze and Lucian. One
Yeah.
for the late game, one for the early game. And last game, your Seraphine couldn't necessarily dominate the early game. That's not why you pick a Seraphine. This time with the Lucian here, I suspect that we are going to see a Gwen jungle, and the Lucian is there to be that strong lane to help cover that weak jungle that you might have in the beginning.
Yeah, and I was just about to say, I would have liked to see maybe the Ziggs taken away by Supernova in that rotation, just to make sure that that duo of Tristana and Ziggs, the Yordle pushers down there, don't really get fired up once again. But it will be that strategy for randoms again in this game too. And for Supernova, it's a different look. You have Chow on one of these engagers that we saw more towards earlier on in the split towards Challengers Uprising, a little bit back to his roots there. And on the other side, Strompus on the Lucian potentially could be a very interesting thing. It still is technically flexible to the top and bottom lanes, so not 100% sure about where that is going to be going just yet, but we are headed into the second phase of bans. Jungle focus here for AoE Randoms, taking away that Lilia that just got buffed, and the Echo Jungle pocket pick that Maddie so well loves.
Okay, so it looks like they're not really thinking that the Gwen's going to go to Maddie in the jungle here. Probably they're thinking it's going, into that top lane. If Rovex was on the squad, I'd say that could be a Rovex pick, because that's what we've seen him pull off before. I do want to point out that Lulu still on the table here, right?
Yeah.
And having something that can really buff up that Gwen is a monster. Gwen can literally 1v9. A lot of it just comes down to, can she survive long enough to get the damage out? And so I feel like any sort of enchanter supports that can really enable that pick is going to be absolutely key, and will be even more important if, and I'm going to keep harping on this until I'm proven otherwise, I'm going to assume this Gwen is a jungle pick. And if you give an enchanter to a jungle like that here, it's the same principle, it's the same concept as Olaf and Shinzao.
Yeah, very similar. Gwen in the jungle has kind of become more and more popular recently. The Rakan pickup for Pockets is interesting. The Thresh not available, the Nautilus not available, the Leona not available. So kind of has to go a little bit differently, but still an engaged champion that can make plays, find these really unique angles. And that's kind of the definition of Pockets so far in just the entire Proven Ground split.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Rakan right now. I feel like if you're going to pick an engaged, tank engages are better. Things like the Leona, like the All-Star, like the Nautilus, but Pockets has proven me wrong plenty of times. So I'm okay with this pick from Pockets here. And I like it into the Gwen as well, because you can't stop the Rakan engage as a Gwen here. You will be inside the Hallowed Mist. It will be able to apply. So I do like the pickup. It does leave them a little low on tankiness though. And considering that there is already a Nautilus picked up, you've got a Kai'Sa as well who can dive that back line. AoE Randoms likely to put that Viego maybe into the jungle, pick a tank top, or hey, Sejuani's still available and on the table. That is a tank jungler that we've seen find quite a bit of success in the current meta.
Ooh, the Ornn lock-in for Cozy. This is really interesting. I feel like we're back in like the beginning of the season with Ornn and Kai'Sa being locked in for Supernova here. This is a champion, Kai'Sa in particular, that Lynx has played a whole lot of, and so really excited to see him back on these comfort picks. The Kai'Sa Nautilus is a combo that we saw a lot towards the beginning of the season, has kind of fallen off in popularity in favor of things like the Varus and more of these longer range champions like Ziggs even here for short hop. But I'm really excited to see this. This is Supernova coming up with a very set team composition. Really go in and do your damage, win the fights. Randoms on the other side, Leo is going to be on that Silas.
Okay, so not exactly the tank I was thinking of. You can kind of drain tank on a Silas here, but there's no Alistar on the other side. You don't have something like the Unbreakable Will to make you a pseudo tank coming through. So it feels like AoE Randoms, very high risk, high reward style composition that they've drafted themselves here. And it will most likely be bloody. Last game, it was pretty clean, right? AoE Randoms didn't pick any fights that they didn't necessarily have to pick. They were running a team composition. But looking at what Supernova brings to the table with the Nautilus, with the Ornn, they're constantly going to be looking to engage. You don't have great disengage tools from the side of Randoms here. So it's going to come down a lot to the mechanics of Pockets on this Rakan to disrupt as much as possible, alongside Leo on this Silas here, or maybe Chim on the Silas. I mean,
Yeah,
Viego and Silas, they can swap around, but the Silas will have to add in significantly to the disruption here.
Yeah, I was just about to say, probably going to be Chim on that Silas. Just going into the Ornn matchup definitely is pretty favorable. Allows Silas to get a pretty free lane. And as the picks come through on the client draft, I think we're going to be seeing just where everything is about to go. And I think that is going to be Silas on to Chim. We're having some trouble getting it onto the stream right now, but Chim is on the Silas going into Cozy's Ornn. And I like this response here for AoE Randoms. The Silas pick up a lot of really strong ultimates on the side of Supernova, whether it's the Ornn Horn, whether it's even the depth charge or the needlework coming out from one of these champions. And so Silas is going to have a lot of opportunities to really make a lot of good plays. And it's pretty flexible to either be good for engage or disengage, especially considering the team composition that Randoms have brought up.
Yeah, because Randoms here, it's not as if they only want to disengage, right? There is conditions in which they would want to look for that engage. And a lot of that will be after poke coming down from that Ziggs, maybe from that Tristana, who will be able to outrange almost everybody on Supernova, or if you're finding people on their own. And we've seen that Supernova doesn't always group up, neither does AoE Random. So if you do find yourself at a numbers advantage, then you definitely instantly want to go in with Palkas with Chim here. But Supernova's comp, I really do like what they've drafted themselves here. They are kind of all winning in terms of wanting to fight. They have the potential to split push, though the Gwen into, the Silas Viego. There's so many tools which can mess up the Gwen. I would like to see them commit to that team fight here. And they've got their early game tools. I think that's even more important here. The fact that they've got that Lucian in the mid lane to help scale up. The Ornn's going to be not ideal against the Silas, but it'll still have some sort of impact come the mid game here. And that Kai'Sa Nautilus into a Ziggs Rakan. Yes, you will get poked up, but at the same time, you do have that kill threat. And I want to see it being used, with Maddie going down, not necessarily to gank the lanes and get them ahead, but maybe just to get some pressure and maybe pick up some free kills as well. If they ever find it a position where they can land an easy hook or land an easy depth charge onto that Ziggs, onto that Rakan.
Yeah, and a lot of Supernova's compositions so far in the summer have been focused on the late game. This is something that we've been bringing up a lot, RMC. But now coming into this game, you have a lot of these high prio lanes, especially towards that bottom side. You have the Lucian, who has a lot of potential to be really strong. And then the Kai'Sa Nautilus is pure engage, pure fighting, going for those 2v2s. And so it's a little bit of a different angle that we're seeing from Supernova, but you still have the scaling. You still have a very strong top side scaling with the Gwen and with the ornaments coming in through from Cozy as well. And so a really good balance here for Supernova.
Yeah. And, Viego versus Gwen right now, I think that the common consensus that Viego wins, not when you've got an Ornn. the ornaments do kind of tip things a little bit in your favor here. Supernova, simple execution. AoE Randoms, though, they can continue to do what they did last game, which is that whole turret taking game here with the rotations. They won't have as easy a pick because Rakan has to physically put himself in a little bit of danger to find those engages here. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Randoms, again, default to that style of play and put it on Supernova to make things happen in the mid game, in the lanes. A lot of skill matchups here, and I think a lot will come down to how the players are able to leverage their own individual skill. Last game, Supernova didn't lose in terms of skilling. In terms of their mechanical skills, they lost more in terms of how they were able to interact after the laning phase in the team fights here. So this time, there are definitely tools for both of these teams. It should be a lot closer here. And I know we're on the AoE stream, Grape, so I'm going to say I want to see Supernova be able to pull out a win here because I want to see a game 3. The games have been looking pretty competitive so far.
Well, RMC, I think I speak for both of us to say that we're very excited for this game. But if you're just tuning in, you might know that this is a game 2, and there was a game 1 that happened a little bit earlier. So to catch you up, we're going to play a quick replay video. We'll see you on the other side for game 2.
Now, I'm team fights here because the teams will operate very, very differently.
Hook misses from Chow, but that means Pockets has a beautiful answer. 2-man encore means that short hop is down. Josie gonna dash in with that crescent guard. Gonna use the wind becomes lightning to take down Lynx, but not before falling in return. Cozy's gonna flash over to play for it. Pockets is a little bit probably scared of this, and the hook barely misses. But now they spotted up Chow, and now the thresh goes down. Teleport coming in from Cozy could mean a big amount of damage. That's a nice bomb coming in, but the encore is huge as well. Maddie goes down first to Leo, and Josie's in the middle of the enemy team with the wild growth on him. Cozy falls, and it looks like Randoms are on the chase. Knock up a land onto Lynx. Does have a lot of damage from the 4v5, but still, it's just a support. Pockets doesn't provide much outside of that rocket trap. Josie's actually going to end up dashing in. Does have the Lulu ultimate if it ends up going through. A massive knockup will mean that Maddie goes down. And now Cozy's going to have to use the Heartbreaker out. Double kill going over to Leo, and he has the resets. Going to jump forward. Could be another. And now Supernova have to be on the run. The only question is, can Random stop him? Hook's going to land on the Pox, and the Blitzcrank has potentially been caught out. The Rocket Crab will not do enough. A beautiful encore as well. Cozy will secure the kill, get the resets, and now Maddie is a bit out of position, but here comes Leo. He's on the flank. Heartbreaker in on the Chim. Will not find the kill just yet. The stopwatch will buy some time, but not enough. And now Josie is going in onto the back line. Going to get rooted up by Stromberg, but has a stopwatch of his own. And look at the damage coming out of the Tristana. A double kill for short hop. Lynx is doing his best, but I don't think it's enough. He goes down, and Papa Chow, the one who started.
Now, it's a team things will operate very, very differently.
Welcome back, everybody. You heard me and RMC's voices there in that highlight reel, but now we're back here on Summoner's Rift for Game 2. As you saw, AOE Randoms had a pretty dominant victory over Supernova in Game 1, utilizing this split push composition, taking a lot of these turrets and securing their win and securing match point here in the first day of the EGL Summer Showdown. Supernova want to kind of try it and even it out.
Yeah, and while we're loading in here, Grapes, we're taking a look at, the summoners, the keystones that were coming in here. And we noticed Ignite on multiple members here of Supernova in the mid lane. We're used to seeing most of the mid laners currently take teleport. Even if you're trying to win the lane, teleport's such a useful tool. You can always just burn all your resources, go back to base, TP back in for better, wave timings or whatever. And you're with items full health, and then you push back in again. But Strumpus took Ignite here. So that tells me they're really looking to make kills happen in the early game. They really want that early game dominance. And I think it's a great pickup considering that the tanks coming up from AOE Random are drain tanks. It's going to be the healing from Viego and Silas keeping them in. You ignite that, you cut that in half, and suddenly they're nowhere near as tanky as they otherwise might have been.
Yeah, the Ignites are definitely a really interesting thing to bring up here as we get into this game. Bot side starts for both of these junglers, which means that they will end up towards that top side, but a nice ward there from Chim will be able to spot out Maddie once he gets over to his red buff. An interesting thing I did want to point out as well was the Ignite on Papa Chow. Typically, when we see Chow on this Nautilus, a lot of these engaged champions, we expect a lot of roams, but honestly, with the Kaisa pickup, wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of this attention focused here because of things like this. Dredgeline coming in onto short hop already, and Lynx is showing his dominance here in the bottom side with Plasma Proc.
Yeah, that's right. You want kills on this bot lane when you pick the Kaisa. This isn't your Ezreal who's going to skill. This isn't your Aphelios who's going to skill. This is a Kaisa who's got literal killer instincts here. Mid lane trade going in favor of Trump. Trump is already here, and Leo doesn't have the Ignite. The TP can get you back into lane, but it's still kind of risky.
Chow going in once again. Battle Dance started here for Pockets, which means no source of engage until he hits level 2. But a nice trade once again by the Supernova bottom lane. They're going to push this second wave into the tower, try and make it a third as well with this cannon. And they're off to a very good start here in this bottom lane for game 2.
Yeah, do note though that by pushing so aggressively, they are sort of exposing themselves to potential ganks here. They do know that Josie did start bot side, and that's why they're playing so aggressively at this point right now. TPs are an option though, and the top laners can definitely come down early. We've seen that happen a couple of times in the Risen side of things. Maybe not so much Supernova though. They're not generally the team who's going to do that. And AOE Randoms, well, they're random. Who can tell? Josie though, looking to make something happen on this top side quickly.
Slowly walking forward. Chim has a lot of prio. Gonna land the chains again. Cozy still has the flash. Gonna series charge forward. Could mean his downfall. Gonna flash away though. Maddie's here. Has the snip.
Flashing from Chim.
First blood already from Chim. Gonna secure that reset as well. Maddie's gonna get one and gonna dash away. It's gonna be a 1-for-1 in the top side.
Papa Chow coming in to help.
Oh, wait. Flash bugged a little bit for me on my screen, but he did flash auto there. But the Ignite was not enough to take down Leo as the teleports get traded by both of the top laners after the 1-for-1. And it looks like after that, no blood has been spilled just yet. Lynx has to be a little bit careful now with the support roaming mid.
Okay, and all said and done, first blood did go down in favor of Josie there. So the Viego getting a little bit of a heads up here, and Cozy TP'd back into lane, instantly taking the damage as well. So Chim gonna have a nice time up here for the next little time. Yes, Ornn can buy items, but it's not gonna make up the fact that he did take so much early damage here. They're trying to answer back for the side of Supernova a little bit in terms of their bot lane, but against the Ziggs, they just shoved out, they go for the crab, and they're just gonna deny more from Maddie here.
Yeah, an effective double crab here for Josie, with short hop and pockets helping out as well. And Lynx is a little bit ahead in farm, but looks like it's going to be evened out right back from short hop. And that's kind of what happens when Chao goes for these roams. Leo did not actually even end up burning the flash in that exchange. And so not too much gain there for Supernova in the mid lane.
And we have to look again at the junglers here, right? Gwen doesn't have any hard CC on the table to help out the lanes here. Whereas Josie on the Viego, yes, he's a burst champion. Yes, he does a lot of damage, but he's also got a stun, which makes it so much easier to influence this mid lane. And that's why I had a bit of hesitations with this Ignite. If you're looking for these kills here, I would have liked to see a bit more sort of jungle assist to help you facilitate those kills. Instead, if it just comes down to a farm lane, that TP is going to mean more in the long run.
Interesting here. We see an Executioner's Calling built up here for Cozy. It means he's not that tanky, though. Look at the damage that Chim is able to put out in return. But another example of using these Grievous Wounds to punish one of these champions that are up in the top side. Even though Executioners isn't super valuable with the AD on the Ornn, since the Silas doesn't auto-attack much, it's going to be helpful. But now Josie has the ultimate advantage onto Maddie. Still going to get stunned up despite the Shroud coming through. Heartbreaker forward, Conqueror pop, auto's coming in, and Maddie's going to go down.
Yeah, there's not much you can do there when Chim was already there. The fact that Chim is there, I think, is the critical point. Because if Leo rotates, Strumpus can match. But if Chim is rotating and Cozy, like we said, was already low on health, cannot come and respond as well, that's always going to be a 3v2. So I think it's the right call there. Just let Maddie fall. It's unfortunate, but it's a Gwen. She'll skill back up, and it's not like you needed her ahead in the early game.
And now Josie is very, very far ahead. Had 2 kills already up a level, but going to be super powerful towards those later stages as well. Another trade down in the bottom side. No jungle intervention means not too much blood is going to be shed just yet. But this is interesting here for Supernova in the bottom side. Since they have this aggressive Kai'Sa Nautilus bot lane, AoE randoms aren't able to get some of those turret plays and some of the prio that they were able to get in game 1.
They've not been able to get any real effective stuff in this bot lane right now, and that's exactly how you want to deal with the Ziggs. You don't want to unlock him too early. Mid lane as well, because Strumpus did pick the solution with Ignite, Leo hasn't been able to get any turret damage either. So we're not seeing that huge burst of gold for AoE randoms, at least not from the plating. The gold they are getting is mostly from kills, and Josie being just a little bit faster than Maddie, having a little bit more influence.
Yeah, and Josie. Viego, I feel like, just has a lot more prio in the early game anyway, and getting it to punish the top side of Supernova, who were the 2 champions that are on this team that didn't have as much early game prio. We're going to focus more towards the later stages of the game, and it's been a really valuable area to focus on Josie. And now he has 2 kills, has a very, very big core components towards that Divine Thunder as well.
Yeah, it's going to make this Dragon take a little bit more easy for randoms here. Supernova might not want to go for it, despite the fact that they have all this bot lane prio here, because your jungler is down. And it's not so much the levels. Smite has been changed here. It's just the fact that Josie might just pop up, show his face and say, hi, I'm going to kill all of you, right? Kai'Sa's kind of squishy. Gwen's kind of squishy as well. Strumpus, though, getting a lot of poke onto Leo here, and Cozy is does have the Ornn Horn available.
Has the Ignite as well with the unsealed spellbook. Let's see if the Ornn Horn ends up getting popped. Here it comes. Rocket Jump still available onto Leo, but oh, it's beautiful. Oh, my eyes. They've been blessed. Strop is going to secure the kill, get out with his life with the final turret shot. And that was an excellent play in the mid lane. Looks like randoms are not going to try and recontest here. Josie had the miss, but not going to go through.
Okay, Chim did pick up the Ornn Horn as well, so they do have engaged potential coming through. Grapes, I just want to say that Strumpus wasn't even the best marksman there, man. American Sniper. Shroud's snipe was just way too good coming in. But Strumpus benefits, and that 1 kill is going to make a huge difference here in the mid lane, because they were already so evenly matched, so close to who was going to kill whom. Getting just that little bit of advantage is going to mean the world of difference. AOE Randoms starting up the Herald here, and they are doing it in vision of Supernova.
Yeah, no ultimate on Cozy though. Means it's going to be significantly weaker. Let's see. Chim does have the ultimate. Doesn't look like he's going to use it just yet. Here it comes. The Ornhorn will miss only onto Maddie, who has a shroud on him. But Josie gets one. Will get the reset. Meanwhile, Leo's in a bad spot. Going to get taken down by Strumpus. Second kill of the game for the Lucian. And now it's a 1-for-1. But the Rift Herald has not been started up just yet.
And once again, Shardop just pushing bot. We saw this last game as well. One track mine here, and you know what? I don't hate it because as the Ziggs, the gold is worth it. If you can take the turret, he can't TP being channeled by Cozy here. But if he could have taken it, then it's definitely worth the Herald because the Herald's probably only going to get you 2 plates, pre-14. Maybe if you're lucky, 1 turret.
Yeah, and it looks like the Rift Herald was picked up there by Supernova at the end of the day. And interestingly enough, it didn't end up being too uneven of a trade because Lynx was able to get a couple plates in the mid lane as well while Short Hop was pushing bot. So the Marksman will stay relatively even at the moment, but this has kind of been the story. Supernova lost a lot of prio in some of their lanes in game 1. Now, CS leads in mid and bot, and not too bad of a deficit for this Ornn in the top side.
No, not at all here. And for Supernova, they're actually in a pretty good position. If we look at the gold distribution here, Stromp is getting the 2 kills. And the fact that Leo was actually the one killed means that this mid lane is heavily Supernova favored right now. All the advantages that AOE Random has is in Josie and a little bit in Chim here on that top side. But for Chim, you're into an Ornn who's going to be happy running a gold deficit. He's going to have impact. He's still going to be useful. And until Josie's able to really pop off in a team fight here, the gold is nice. It's going to help you win the duels. But later on, Gwen's going to scale up anyways. And yeah, you're going to need to find targets, specifically Strumpus and Lynx with that Heartbreaker.
If you're this Silas going into the Ornn, I feel like you want a little bit more than the 10 CS lead and a couple of assists. I mean, this is the matchup that has the Silas into tanks is something that is really valued in a lot of the things. It's kind of the textbook counter into some of these tanks. And Chim is a very good Silas player. So only being up about 5 CS at this point, not going to be that good. Chow, though, hooking the Scuttle Crab. He doesn't have an escape. Going to land a death charge onto Josie, but he's going to get his first reset of the game. Now Josie's going to come in. Needlework gonna be still available here, but Chim is here on the backside. Going to use the Needlework of his own. The Conqueror's proc from Maddie, but not enough healing will save him from the hands of Chim. And now Strop is in a bit of trouble. Going to have to use that E to get out safely, but a 2-for-0 for AOE Randoms so far. Now, let's see what the return is for Supernova. Cozy's here, has the ultimate, has the exhaust. The Dragon's already been started up by the AOE Randoms. Doesn't look like they're going to want to continue this fight. Dragon secured, and all of a sudden 1k in AOE Random's favor.
Really well played from them. I was just about to mention the fact that they had a teleport advantage, multiple teleport advantages actually, and they played that well. Even without the TP advantage, Paucus's engage was just on point right there. They saw Papa Chow alone, and granted, Nautilus is technically a tank, but early on, he's still kind of squishy, doesn't have the items, and they immediately turn and punish right away, secure themselves an Infernal as well here.
Found Paucus once again, looking for a bit of revenge, but Battle Dance out from the Rakan will secure his safety, and Short Hop's going to throw a couple of bombs out to deter the Nautilus from going forward.
That bomb from my angle looked like it should have hit, but they're somehow dodging that out here. Lynx, though, is a little bit low from the poke, and that does mean that Papa Chow, even if he does land a good hook, probably doesn't have to follow up. The kill potential is not really there in this bot lane right now for Supernova.
Yeah, and right now things are looking pretty good for them in the bottom side. Top side, though, a little bit scary. Chim is here, and it looks like Josie's here as well. Teleport coming in from Leo, and they're looking for the dive. The Call of the Forest God will not knock up Cozy, but he's going to get one of his own. The tower is on Leo. The Ignite's ticking, and Cozy gets a kill in the 1v3. The reset will come through, but it doesn't matter because a trade is all you needed to make that worth. Turret goes down in the mid lane for Supernova as well.
Yeah, Herald drop is going to get a second charge as well, and the Mega Inferno Bomb not going to be enough to stop it.
They get two?
They get two!
Oh.
Yeah, it's not answered. Chim and Josie haven't taken top yet. It's taking them so long right now.
I'm going to do my best ESPN 30 for 30 voice. What if I told you the turret taking from this team composition, well, the first 2 turrets in this game would go to Supernova and not AOE Randoms. It's just insane. You have this Tristana and Ziggs, and the first 2 turrets are here on the other team, and that means the gold is very much in their favor. And now another fight could be on the horizon here. Strumpus is very strong here on this Lucian, and they're going to try to get some more plates before they fall.
Ooh, that poke alone from Lynx there is going to make this a very difficult dive. They're going to try and get poked down. And I don't want to call it a base race because these are outer turrets we're talking about. But at the same time, like Chim and Josie finally get that top lane turret. They've been chipping at it for such a long time now. And I want to give credit to Cozy because we say that Cozy is a good weak side laner. We wanted to see, better strong side play, but just put him on an Ornn and look what he can do. That was a 3-man dive. He answers 1 for 1. And he finds a critical member too. If Leo was up, that turret goes down way faster. But Josie and Chim, they're not the turret takers. It's the Tristana. It's the Ziggs. So if you take them out, you make that trade hyper worth it here for your team. And despite the extra turrets they got, though, Supernova is still just barely even in gold. So we can see that they are still falling behind a little bit in some of the lanes, in some of the matchups.
True, especially considering some of the early game champions that Strumpus and Lynx have. Having the gold even isn't that bad for AoE randoms, but they haven't gotten the turrets as many as them as we saw in game 1. A lot of the turrets fell around this point for AoE to start us off in that last game. And now a lot of the gold is in the hands of the main carries of Supernova. Strumpus sitting at 2-0. And he's definitely a lot stronger than he was on that Seraphine last game. And so right now the gold lead, while it is slightly in Random's favor, you got to think that Supernova are still in a pretty decent spot.
Now, because Supernova did actually take an inner turret on that particular push, the game state's kind of unusual for 15 minutes. We're not used to seeing, the outer turrets on the side lanes up and still takeable, whereas the mid lane is just shoved all the way in. And you can see that in the lane assignments right now. Supernova can't just leave, say, their bot lane, the duo in the mid lane anymore. It's too long. And instead, they have to start rotating, looking to, move people around and try and catch the CS, catch the waves a little bit better there. And we've not seen Supernova really been able or really having to do that before this. So it's going to be an interesting test. So far, the vision is not in their favor. AoE randoms have set up the better vision and the better opportunities to find picks.
Well, it doesn't look like they really care about being seen at this Rift Herald. Second Rift will probably be going down without any sort of contest by AoE randoms. As Maddie and the rest of the team will probably look to pick that up. And now might be headed towards the top side. Leo does have the rocket jump, does have the flash, but Dredgeline will not end up hitting.
Honestly, a little surprised he didn't even try and chuck the Mega Inferno Bomb. Strumpus has to be careful, though. If you're in range to do that, Pockets might look huge on you.
Yeah, Strumpus is in a really weird place right now. We got a lot of stuff going on the map. Red turret will go down on the top side, and now Strumpus is really in a weird spot.
Oh, no,
Cody's gonna come out with the Colony Force God. Pocket's gonna lock him up, and that doesn't look very good for Supernova. Looks like those soul winners were kind of in the wrong position. Papa Chow's forced the flash out of the way, but Leo is going to match it, and boom! The bombs in unison, sing a perfect harmony to take down Papa Chow.
I guess that's why we call it explosive there. That was really nasty. Leo on top of Ward does not care. It's just trying to zone out Cozy right now, and that turret's going to go down too.
Well, but look at the return there from Supernova. Sure, they lose 2 members here in the mid lane, but they get 2 more towers top. And especially considering the inner towers are worth more gold now in those side lanes, gonna be pretty crucial for them to stack some more of this gold. It looks like the Dragon, though, will go over to AoE Randoms, so we're in a bit of a different situation than we saw in Game 1, where now Randoms is the team with that soul acceleration advantage.
Yeah, Leo here has to be careful. Getting pinched from behind as well.
Yeah, teleport coming in from Cozy as well. Snip, snip, go the scissors. And it looks like Leo's gonna go down.
Nice, easy clap. They can easily push in this bot side as well, take that turret that's been standing here. And that top side push, Grapes, we should probably talk about it because we didn't see any of it while all the fighting was happening mid. But that was Showy, second Herald, or Kelly, or whatever you want to call the second Herald there, pushing in. Yeah, it seems like everybody's got a different name for it. Just shoving in all the way there and getting all the damage. And AoE randoms cannot afford to just ignore that sort of thing when it's happening. Yes, the mid lane pick is good. Yes, you kill Strumpus. Yes, you get gold, but still, you're losing a lot of pressure, and it's going to lose you the ability to access that burn as well. We talked about the fact that Supernova doesn't have great vision necessarily for the most part, but they've got so much more opportunity now. And AoE randoms will have to spend so many more wards just to secure a path to this neutral objective, where those wards are not going to help you find picks. They're just there to make sure that you don't get picked.
Yeah, and the vision from randoms has been good. Supernova have a lot more defensive warding, especially towards that top side of the map, as you said. Now, Strumpus might be looking for a bit of a duel, though. Josie's here, very strong Viego, so it doesn't look like the Lucian's going to be going forward here.
Hawk is looking as well on the flank here, and they know that 3 members are in that bush.
Oh yeah, this is super scary right now. Supernova might be in a bit of trouble. Chim's gonna come in with a depth charge, but it's gonna be double knockups back and forth. Call of Forge God does a lot of damage. Droppas picks up the first kill, and it's on the Tristana. Only question is, can Josie get a reset? A 3-man steering charge might not mean too much because Cozy's getting chowed in with the Heartbreaker. Chim picks up another, and it looks like Josie is just continuing his rampage here. 6-0 and 2 on the Viego.
It's all about the vision, Grapes. They had the vision there. Granted, it didn't come from a ward unless you count Pockets as a ward, but good enough. And now Maddie forced to run while Strompas.
Chim is looking. Chains are not going to land. Strompas doesn't have the Gale Force, but is going to potentially try to get out. Pockets is coming in here on the flank, though. Lucian might be in a whole lot of trouble real soon. No quickness, but it looks like Strompas is going to try and turn this around. Not enough. Looks like the autos coming in from Chan will be enough to secure the kill.
The fact that Strompas almost turned that, though, Graves, is kind of close. And he actually might have been able to get out if he didn't go in with that flash, with that dash, trying to find the kill there. Doesn't change too much right now because Strompas was really overextended, and the main fight was already won by AOE Randoms. The good news is there was nothing for AOE Randoms to take. So they get the kill, they get the shove, but that's it. They don't lose a single turret for it. Leo?
Going in onto Leo once again, but this time doesn't have the reinforcements. Will it even matter, though? The needlework is coming through. Wow. That's a lot of damage. That's the 2-item Gwen coming through, and Maddie picked up a solo kill bottom.
And Leo is now 2-6 and 2. He's been put really far down right now. And when your Tristana is that far down, she might be the safest AD carry with Buster Shop, with Rocket Jump, but you still cannot have her split push on her own anymore. There's just too many mobile champions. And Gwen in the jungle usually runs Ghost, which is what Maddie's running here. So the long lane is even worse here. It's not like, oh, there's a flash, as long as I survive that, I'm fine. No, the Ghost will run you down.
Yeah, and we've seen a lot of different summoner spells coming out from Gwen's, but I really like the Ghost setup here. It allows for a lot of mobility, chasing down, as you said, in those long lanes, and it opens up the possibility for even some split pushing potential here for Supernova. With the Lucian already on Stromp is going to be in that solo lane down bot. You also have this Gwen in some of the long lanes.
So far what we've seen, Grapes, is that Supernova's team fighting composition is coming online. We called it rather one-dimensional, but it's easy to execute. The Oran Horn goes down, Prosperous Cat or Papa Chow drops a depth charge, and you go in. And so far, AOE Randoms, they've been able to get a hit by finding uneven fights, by finding picks here. With the main objectives being just these neutral objectives here, with most of the turrets down, it's going to get harder and harder for AOE Randoms to find these sort of picks right now. You can already see they're grouping up. They're looking for the 5v5. There's no more Strompa split pushing somewhere else. There's no more Maddie being, trying to do something on their own while everybody else is grouped up. So next fight should be a pretty good indicator of whether or not AOE Randoms have a way to stay into the game here.
Well, we might see a fight pretty soon, RMC. That dragon is spawning in about 20 seconds. Supernova definitely don't want to go to soul point, and looks like the fight's already begun. Asking you shall receive. Pockets gets bursted down instantly, but Viego already gets his first reset of the fight. Gonna use the Heartbreaker in onto 2. Stop is dashing forward, but he gets the kill onto Josie. That is huge for Supernova. Leo falls as well. Chim is trying his darndest, but it's not enough. Lynx picks up the kill, and Supernova win the fight.
Ziggs, the last man standing here. Short hop does not have the bomb, can't do anything. That will be Dragon now going over to Supernova. And it feels like a bit of a repeat of history. In game 1, it was Supernova picking up the first 2 dragons, losing all the oceans after that here. And Supernova might be in the position to return the favor here. Hopefully it doesn't go that long, because despite the ornaments and the Gwen, I really don't know how the skilling goes with the Lucian here, but they're able to win these fights. In AOE Randoms, they got picked there. Let's not make a mistake. Pockets did get burst down before he could do really anything meaningful there. And AOE Randoms need to avoid a frontal engage like that. They are much better at just causing chaos and then looking for the individual plays.
Yeah, and the thing about that fight is so much of AOE Random's team composition really relies along Josie's Viego. He has the resets. If he's able to get a couple of them and stay alive in these fights, he is able to pop up. He can get even like a full ace basically for randoms. And so what Supernova did in that fight that I really liked is they really tried to focus him down. Stromp Gale Force forward, which I honestly thought at first was a misclick, but it ended up really doing enough to burst down the Viego, take him down before he was able to secure another one of those takeovers. And so it's been really important for Supernova so far, and I really like the way that they approached that team fight there.
And the timing of that is very important too. Strumpus, by the time Strumpus opted to do that, most of the fight was done. Strumpus does need to stay alive in the early bits because he is the most fed member here for the side of Supernova. And while, yeah, Josie is AoE Random's most fed member, a 1-for-1 trade might not necessarily be in your favor when the enemy team is so heavily loaded with damage here. Baron is up, Grapes, and we already saw the fight that they were willing to throw for a dragon here. Baron's going to be that much more explosive, and a lot of that comes down to trying to find that first pick. Without that pick, these teams are not safe. Supernova trying to do that with a Ziggs on the enemy team is incredibly dangerous. And for AoE Randoms, you already saw they don't win a fight if they get pinched at the Baron pit. They're probably going to get aced and then maybe even lose the game off the back of that. So it's a game now of who can find whom first, who can get that all-important pick first.
Yeah, Call of the Forge God, one of the best long-range abilities, and also really crucial in some of these really intensely closed off corridors like the Baron pit that we're seeing right now. Supernova started up the blue ward from AoE Randoms. Will spot it out. Chim coming in with the teleport, and it looks like Randoms want to fight. Baron is at 5,000 health, and it looks like Chim might have been caught out of position, stole the calling, which means he's not going to be able to stay alive, and this looks like the Silas is going to go down. 4v5 for Supernova. I wouldn't be surprised if they start the Baron right back up.
Still risky. The Ziggs is still up and available, and it's really that bomb that you've got to watch out for. You can already see Short Hops poke into the pit, chunked quite a significant amount of Papa Chow's health, and Maddie as well here. And Supernova, that win is huge. Are they looking for more? Can they find it?
Oh, Armhunter gets flashed away from by Josie, but that's a crucial summoner spell out of the Viego, the main carry for AoE Randoms. And Supernova have to be pretty careful, but they still look like they have the advantage. Chim is still dead for 10 more seconds. Doesn't look like the Baron is going to be the topic of conversation here, but another good at fight secured there by Supernova. They get the teleport out of the enemy top laner, and it looks like they're going to potentially back off here for now.
Yeah, it's just a game of patience. And Supernova will be more than happy to play this here. They got the teleport out of Chim, which is actually pretty massive because Chim is the safe split pusher right now. Leo, we've seen what happens when Leo split pushes. It generally doesn't end well. I think Maddie, Strumpus, and Lynx could all solo kill Leo if it came down to that. Same problem with Short Hop. Your Ziggs is safe in lane because you've got turrets, but in extended lanes, your Ziggs has nowhere to run. So now, if we do see a split push come out from the side of Supernova, AoE Randoms don't have a good answer to it.
Taking a look at Cozy right now, just seeing how close he is to level 14, getting pretty close. So once he gets that, if you thought some of the main carries for Supernova were scary before, wait until they get an extra 1,000 gold tacked onto their mythic in terms of stats. So that's one of the crucial things here for the side of Supernova, just making sure that they stay alive, and the snowballing could potentially continue to go with these Ornn items coming in.
Back to the Baron dance once again, Grapes. Dragon coming up in 1 minute might interrupt the dance, but until then, everything's going to be centered around that. Shurelia's Reverie popped by Pokas there. That's a interesting time to do it. Yeah, they're just... And he gets hooked anyways.
He gets hooked anyway. Chow might have got a little bit too far. The explosive shot does a decent amount of damage in the bomb as well. Oh. That's awkward.
There's
a pause on the screen, and we're getting word that it's because Chow did lag a little bit, so not entirely sure how we're going to solve this, but either way, 27 minutes in, this is about the same time RMC as the game last time ended, but it doesn't look like we're about to see that anytime soon.
Well, I mean, I think it really just comes down to this Baron here, and I don't know what lag Papa Chow has, but if it helps you land those picks, I'd take that.
There is the Mega Inferno Bomb icon right underneath Papa Chow as the pause is attempting to resolve itself, and it's just looking at it. I'm just like, oh no! It's like a disaster waiting to happen.
That perfect frozen timing. I mean, we know that there's no flash for Papa Chow. I believe Dredgeline is still down, and the shield is enough. Okay, he's a tanky boy. He's okay, but the engage might still come through here from AoE Randoms.
Yeah, Strappus gets chunked out pretty low. I don't know if Supernova really want to fight this just yet. The dragon is spawning in about 20 seconds, but both sides have to be pretty careful. It looks like Chow is going to take a reset before the next fight, but now that means the AoE Randoms are at the numbers advantage.
Yeah, and for AoE Randoms here, Baron's a little bit dicey, but they can definitely burn down this dragon in a matter of seconds here. And more importantly, the zone control for Short Hop is going to be pretty big right now. Those minefields are going to chunk people out. Cozy has to be the one walking in, soaking that up here. And they're not even looking at Dragon. Supernova are more than happy to give this up. They really, really want Baron priority.
Yeah, Dragon goes over to AoE Randoms. I did get a bit of a freeze on my screen, so I'm not entirely sure how lined up I am with the rest of the casting team here. I am at 27-38 right now, but either way, looks like we're in a pretty even spot right now. And Dragon goes over, Soul Point going over to AoE Randoms. Just making sure we're all on the same page because this next fight's gonna be pretty big.
Yep, looks like we are still synced up. That much managed to survive here. Leo split pushing bot side and then Engage coming out again.
Depth charge onto the key member. Josie's gonna get stunned up. Call the Force God will land, but he has bought a lot of space for himself. Pocket's in a dangerous spot as well. The Needlework doing so much damage coming in from Maddie, and he secures the first kill of the game. Maddie is gonna get taken down with the explosive shutdown going over to Leo. The key thing is that Josie cannot collect that body to possess. So it's a 1-for-1 right now, but looks the fight still potentially on its way forward. Supernova want to try and take down this mid lane inhibitor turret. Satchel charge will knock Chow back. The turret is so low, but it will not die just yet. Josie does not have the ultimate to go in, but there are still ultimates on to Leo, and AoE Randoms are on the chase. Cozy and Chow are trying to zone off the team. It's still a 4-for-4, but the health bars are in the Randoms' favor. Stun gonna land here onto Cozy, but Strop is gonna come in, get knocked up though, and he's gonna get taken down, and all of a sudden, Randoms take the fight. Both fronts, Supernova was split, and AoE Randoms capitalized.
We said the teams needed a pick, Graves. That is more than a pick. That was an ace coming out from AoE Randoms there. The first fight was messy. The second fight was clean. And Supernova, they got a little greedy. They wanted that inhibitor turret. I respect that, but you can't do that on the enemy side of the map when you don't have TPs of your own to reinforce you. And you didn't get the inhibitor turret. You don't get the Baron. And for what it feels like the first time this game, AoE Randoms has been up and go before, but it feels like they're finally on the front foot. They can start to push out and take these standing inner turrets. That's all standing golds. And maybe for the first time this game, Grapes, we get to see Tristana and Ziggs actually pull off the combo and take all these turrets.
And such a large part of that fight was Pockets on the Rakan, getting the grand entrance onto Strumpus, and that knockup was huge. Might not survive for very much longer here in the jungle, but he has the rest of his team to support him, and either way, things are a little bit dicey here. Pocket's going to come out here, but Chow wants to go forward, landing that depth charge on the short hop to start things off, and Pocket's going to get caught out already, but he stays alive with the battle lance, and he goes down instantly. Josie has the possession, and he's looking to go for more. Cozy is the next target, stuck in a 1v4, and he will get taken down. 2 straight kills going over to AoE Randoms as they still have the Baron on their backs.
And again, the question is just, why is Supernova looking to engage in such a tight choke point? We didn't touch on it, but this is a mountain map, which means you've got random pillars which restrict your movement into a Ziggs who's already going to control your zoning in your area. Strumpus was not ready to back you up. That was a 4v5. And again, mid laners, no TP. That's a problem for you.
5v3 for the next couple of seconds. Remember, this is the Ziggs and Tristana. Chow's going to start the fight off already. Strop is already taking dangerously low, and it looks like Papa Chow goes down first in the fight. 5 seconds on Maddie, 8 on Cozy. Can Randoms win the game? Nexus is exposed. Link has to do the damage. Leo is the target. He goes down, but Josie is now getting the kills. He's now Lucian, and the Nexus is going down as we speak. Short hop on the other side, getting the last hits in onto the Supernova base means that they take the series 2-0.
Grapes, do we say this is a repeat of history? AoE Randoms unfortunately taking that again. Supernova put up such a competitive fight though, and it just, I feel so much for Supernova that they keep falling right at the very end. They get so close because the series was close. Supernova was winning right up till the moment they weren't.
Yeah, and the early game looked really well, really good for Supernova. They were able to get Prio in the lanes that they wanted to. Cozy was able to play a really solid weak side on the Ornn and was able to actually have a huge impact on some of those fights towards the end. But at the end of the day, when you feed too many kills into Josie on that Viego, ended with 12, 1, and 9. This was not enough.
Yeah, no, definitely here. And Randoms, they might be an inconsistent team, but one thing I've always given credit for is their incredibly strong mental. Yes, they were losing throughout most of the game. They were being pressured in and they were sort of barely holding on to their inhibitor turrets for the most part. Mid and top both almost went down to those Shelly charges, right? But they do manage to hold on. And in the clutch moments, when it comes to that critical fight, they find a way to make that work. And I think a lot of this comes down to the tools that they had. The Ziggs, once again, absolutely massive in game 1 for turret taking, in game 2 for zone control. You could see that, sure, Supernova get to engage, but they have to take a lot of damage going in, and suddenly Josie with that Heartbreaker is just getting free executes. 12, 1, and 9 on this Viego. That is nothing to scoff at. And we said we wanted to see after game 1 more jungle carry, more Josie, less Leo, less short hop. Josie definitely showed up big in game 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Whether it's making plays in the top side, getting kills all over the map, Josie definitely showed his worth here and was the main carry, I want to say, for AOE Randoms here in that game too. 2-0 for the Randoms as they make their first mark here in the EGL Summer Showdown. And it's going to be really exciting to see a lot of great stuff coming out from this team. I think we might have an interview if I heard correctly, and we'll see what just about what's going to go down.
Okay, so while we're waiting to confirm that, I think it bears noting that in this group you've got AOE Randoms, Supernova. You also have Dignitas Mirage and Zeus Gaming. So it's a pretty competitive group, and 3 out of 4 of these teams were in the same group in Risen as well. I think the only difference is instead of the AOE title roster, it's Zeus Gaming in here, which, if anything, makes second seed, I think, a lot more competitive. And we know that these teams can take games off each other. So Supernova, this is only match 1. They're still in it, and they can still potentially find a way out. It's just much tougher. And for AOE Randoms, good win here, solid win, statement win. But they need to make sure they continue finding wins. And I'm super interested to see, when they face up against Zeus. I believe that will be round 3 that they face off. That's going to be very, very exciting as well.
I have to imagine that a situation where Supernova end up exiting this group with a spot in the playoffs, it would probably result in them taking a series win off of Zeus Gaming, which not a lot of teams have done, to be fair. So it's going to be a little bit harder for Supernova now that they lost this series to AOE Random. That's kind of why RMC, we really focused in on this series as being really crucial for both of these teams. And now, just in general, Supernova, they have a tough road ahead of them, but I think they're showing the growth that I think we wanted them to see.
Yeah, and the fact that AOE Randoms is facing Zeus in round 3 means that Supernova is facing them in round 2. So that's a little bit rough there, but we'll have to see how that works out.
Well, we do have an interview set up. We have the top laner Chim coming in here to talk about his victory here in this series. Really excited because I feel like we've only talked to really short hop in some of these interviews. So getting to hear some of the rest of the Randoms roster definitely going to be exciting.
For sure. Hey man, you sounded as you don't want to hear more short off. I think short offs are really
great. No, don't get me wrong. It's just it's always nice to hear from everyone on the team, instead of just like one representative. That's all I'm saying.
I think it'll be interesting to get a different perspective as well, because I think Chip gets put on weak side all the time. So it's kind of like getting a sort of a different perspective, like not somebody who's necessarily carrying all the time. And I do believe we have Chim in here. Chim, can we hear you?
Yo, what's good? Hello? Can you hear me?
Hey,
welcome,
yes, we
can.
Welcome.
What's good,
to
boys?
the interview, Chim. First of all, congratulations on the 2-0 over Supernova. Does it get old just beating the same team over and over again?
It's so crazy. Like the last tournament, we had Supernova and Dig Mirage in our group, and then this tournament, it's them again. So maybe it's just fate, maybe it's rigged. I don't know, but it feels good every time beating them for sure.
That's rough, man. And you've had to face Cozy quite a few times here, and you got the Silas into Ornn matchup this game, and I believe the first game it was, what do we have first game here?
Lulu and Diego.
Oh yeah, that was brutal. So how does it feel to get to play strong side and absolutely crush on it?
It feels good, man. I mean, honestly, when they picked the Vigo in game 1, we weren't sure where it's going because they triple flex it. But we just thought that the Lulu Zen pairing is too good, right? It's played a lot. LPL, LCK, even LCS, right? Really strong pairing. And, my Lulu, it's cranked. And it's really good with Josie Zen, right? Laning was really good. Really strong scaling, so worked out good. And the matchup was, as you saw, pretty unplayable for Viego. Like he can't really go in. Hard for him to scale up in a side lane as well. And then we also had Leo that could just take him on later in the game. So I think our comp was really good that game, and it showed.
Yeah, your second game comp as well wasn't too far away. I mean, you guys ran similar things, but I feel like the early game went very differently from you guys. You guys almost lost your inhibitor turrets fairly early on around the 20-minute mark. What were the comms like? Were you guys like worried at any point? Leo's dying, turrets dropping, like.
Yeah, no, I mean, we knew that it would be hard to fight the second rift just based off of what happened around mid. Like as you said, Leo was dying, getting behind a little bit, so it was kind of tough for us to take skirmish. So when they took that second rift and started pushing it down top, we were definitely a bit concerned, but we knew that we had some TPs up and that we could respond to it. And then they also gave us a window mid for whatever reason, and we capitalized hard on that. And then they kind of screwed over their top push. So we were able to defend our end hip, luckily, which is good because we don't really have any chance that can clear supers that easily early into the game. So it was good that we defended it. But we got the playoff on mid, so I think that kind of counteracted what they wanted to do.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, we talked a lot about some of the way that your team composition functioned in some of these games, and the two key pieces, I guess, not really in your hands, Shim, but more towards the bottom side, is that Tristana and Ziggs. Is this a strategy that you guys really think is really strong? Because it has really popped up in a lot of games so far.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you just think about it, right? Ziggs, Triss, they both have abilities built into their kits that allow them to break the towers. So when you put them together, then I mean, it just destroys towers, right, completely. Especially if you can get either first or second rift. I mean, first is ideal, right, because then you can break open some plating gold for either of them or both,
Yeah.
which is huge, right? Because they when they snowball, when they accelerate, they become very, very strong. As we saw in game one, Leo was popping off on the Triss that game. So
Yeah.
getting that early gold lead is huge. And then obviously same thing with Ziggs. Really, really big poke champ. Like if you disrespect any of his bombs or his ulti, he can just chunk you super hard. So I think it's a super strong combo. I mean, we've seen it in pro play. I think we'll be seeing more play in amateur as well, and hopefully we can play some more. But I think if teams are smart, they'll probably ban it against us because it's quite OP, as we saw today.
Well, yeah, we saw how great you guys were on this play style, just getting a lot of early game advantages and really pushing it forward to secure your wins here in this 2-0. I want to talk more about the team as a whole just for a little bit before we close things out. You guys took a 3-0 loss to Maryville in the Risen
Yes.
quarterfinals,
Yes.
which is not probably what you guys were really hoping for or expecting, especially considering a lot of the strength that you guys had in some of your earlier tournaments. So, I mean, is it hard to bounce back from a defeat like that? And just what is the thought process as a team?
Yeah, I mean, the Maryville series, it was a tragedy. We had like some good draft plans coming in, but we also on the day I think we just lost our minds when they went for what they drafted. They really prided the Renekton and they banned the Jace, and Jace is a really strong pick into the Renekton. It can follow it as a flex. But since they banned it, we kind of like, oh, what did we pick to follow it? And we didn't come to the conclusion of what we wanted to pick, and that showed in the drafts. They were able to get big draft advantage, I think, in every game except for maybe game one. I think game one was quite even, but in games two and three, I think their draft was quite strong and made it hard for us to play. So that was a problem, right? So I think we just kind of had to think about how to draft better going forward. What works for us, what works into certain picks, like the Renekton, right? Super strong pick, flexible. So just think about things like that, trying to draft a bit better. And in terms of bouncing back, I mean, we have a pretty good team atmosphere. We're not really huge tilters. We're all pretty, friendly and friends outside of the game. So I think that makes it easy to kind of bounce back and talk about what we need to do in order to, bring it back and do well in this tournament. Because we can still do well and make proving grounds based on how we place out of groups and going into playoffs. So, just keeping a good head on our shoulders and not tilting and figuring out what happened. And I think we do that well as a team.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, your mentals look absolutely disgusting in terms of being able to always bounce back within games as
Yes,
well.
sir. Yes, sir.
That's it. One last question from me here, and it has to do with the
Oh,
group that you got drafted into, right? You
yes.
have
Yes.
Supernova, Digmig, and Zeus
Yep.
Gaming. You're
Yes,
familiar with a lot
sir.
of them.
Mhm.
So you should have a pretty good grasp on where you guys are. Who do you think
Yep.
is making out the groups, and what do you think the order is in terms of
No
1 to
bias,
4?
no bias.
No bias. No bias. Just remove myself as a player, eh? I mean, okay. I mean, realistically, based on how today went, I think we can comfortably say that we're getting into groups.
Okay.
Supernova is going to be tough for them. I would argue that Zeus is probably the best team or on an equal level to us. They're really, really good. We played against them 2 tournaments ago,
Yeah.
and they 3-0'd us there. But coming back to the Maryville point, I think we just need to understand how to draft better versus these really good teams. I think that gives a bit of an advantage. But yeah, I think Zoo's going to be our biggest challenge. But I think they're beatable for sure. We just have to have good draft plans
Mhm.
and be good on the day. So either us or Zeus for a second, just depends on, like I said, draft and on the day. But I think Digmig and Supernova are kind of doomed to go to groups just based on how today went. I haven't seen how the Digmig series went with Zeus, but I'm assuming that most likely Zoos won, right? So if Zoos won today and we win today, I think it's very, very tough for either Supernova or Digmig to get out. But it's based on tomorrow too, right? We play Digmig, so if they upset us tomorrow and get that dub, then it's it comes down to next week. So, but I don't have any intention on losing to Digmig. So.
Yeah, I was just about to say, you guys, when Dignitas Mirage was in your group last tournament, they made things pretty spicy by
They did, dude.
Over
The Mundo was going where he pleased. The exhaust Mundo top was crazy. It felt really, really strong, really tanky, good laning. Yeah, it was. So, maybe we banned the Mundo. Maybe we found a special pick into it. Who knows? We'll see tomorrow. But yeah, it should be a banger. Digmig's definitely a solid team. They have a lot of spicy picks. Dragoon in the top lane plays the Darius, plays some other weird picks. So I got to be careful what I'm picking and what we ban. So it'll be interesting. But I do think we win if we play like today for sure.
I can't wait. I really cannot wait to see this tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
We got some draft leaks here from Chim as well to make sure that I'll take some notes here for the series tomorrow. So
yes,
that's it for us here on the caster desk. Chim, thank you so much for coming in with this interview. Is there anything you wanted to shout out before we close it up?
Sure. I mean, shout out my team. They're all great players. Josie in the jungle. He was too scared to do the interview. He's a little nervous. Little spooked to talk to the boys. But he really smart today.
1-9. Come on, man.
Are we that scary?
No, you're not scary. You guys are great. But no, shout out to Josie. He really smart today, and ball lane as well. They really performed well today. Really happy with them. Leo, game 1, he was a V9er. Game 2, he scaled. He anti-scaled a little bit, but it happened. He anti-scaled. Game 1, he scaled. Game 1, he anti-scaled. But we were there. We got his back. Exactly. We have his back. We carried the boy. So shout out to my team. They're all great. Coaching staff, of course. We got Incon. He's great, and Fizzy's been helping out recently. Really good coaching staff to make drafting and learning things a pleasure. And shout out to the management, Riley, Kobe, all the guys at AOE. They're a great bunch of guys. They really look out for all the players, and big respect to them. So shout out to all the homies, and hopefully tomorrow goes well. So thank you guys.
Hey, thank you, Chim.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chim. Best of luck tomorrow against Dignitas Mirage, and yeah, have a good night.
Thank you guys as well.
And that was fun. That was fun, wasn't it, RMC? Just getting, I mean, we were talking about getting short up a lot. I feel like, yeah, we can get Chim in. We can get Chim in a couple more times. The rest of the team as well, depending on if they win.
Yeah, gotta get Leo in, man. Apparently,
or Josie.
Yeah, Josie and Leo. Man. We gotta get them in.
Either way, everyone, that's going to be it for us here on the Area of Effect stream. EGL Summer Showdown Day 1 has concluded here with AOE Randoms taking the 2-0 over Supernova. But RMC, we got some more matchups coming up in the next couple of days, and I'm super excited to see them.
Yeah, for sure. And we already heard it from Jim, right? This group's going to be super spicy. Let's not forget AOE still has another team or another 2 teams in. There's AOE Vice, there's AOE title roster as well. So it'll be interesting to see, how far they can get AOE. I mean, we talk about the fact that Fizzy's now coaching AOE Randoms. That does mean that we've got a different support for the AOE title roster as well.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how that turns out as well. This group, this tournament is going to be really interesting. Remember, everybody, that there are more matches coming up at 9 p.m. Not entirely sure where you're going to find them. Hopefully, there's some links out there. Oh, yes, AOE is going to be on the Academy stream, so make sure you tune in for that. And besides that, that's going to be it. Make sure to tune in tomorrow on the AOE Twitch channel for Randoms matchup against Dignitas Mirage. And besides that, it's going to be it. And yeah, RMC, anything to say before we close it out?
Same as Jim. Thanks for having us on. It's been great. Thanks to all the viewers as well for popping in, and shout out to the production team, Grapes and me on here. We're having a great time, and it's all possible because of our producer Ebrom in the back as well, whispering in our ears. Yes. Anytime you hear me mess up and then correct myself after, it's usually Ebrom just pulling my strings behind.
Same here, man. Ebrom is an absolute smurf behind the scenes here. Thank you once again to our entire production team here at Area of Effect. And with that, it's going to be it for us. Once again, we'll see you all tomorrow.